Chapter 584. Su Yan's aura was like a rainbow. His body was too domineering. Although he was seriously injured and his body was stained with blood, however, Su Yan didn't care at all. The aura in his body vibrated and his blood essence surged. It could be said that he was exuberant. It could be described as monstrous blood essence. The martial arts will that spread out from his body was so powerful that it made people tremble. How ferocious was this? He was like a warrior who had slain a true dragon and a true phoenix. Even the double supreme, Shui Guan, couldn't block Su Yan's counterattack. Su Yan had withstood tens of thousands of attacks before he finally wanted to kill Shui Guan in one go. Roar! Shui Guan let out a terrifying roar. Su Yan's voice made him open his eyes wide in anger. His trembling body quickly stabilized. Moreover, the double supreme power in his body was awakened. He wanted to penetrate the sky and operate a super powerful suppression force to suppress Su Yan. How can the champion of our family be defeated by Su Yan? The disciples of the Shui family roared with red eyes. They didn't believe that Shui Guan would be defeated at all. It must have been an accident. An accident. When the crowd saw Shui Guan's declining aura ignite once again, his body was like a furnace. The true dragon and true phoenix revolve around him, and he once again released the shocking power of the dual supreme physique. The two types of energy were like the torrent of a universe. Facing such a terrifying source of power, how could Shui Guan not be able to stop Su Yan? Look, Su Yan's supporters regained their confidence in him. They saw the domineering Su Yan descending from the sky. In his bloodstained body, his aura was so powerful that it could burn the world. He was like an invincible overlord who dominated the world. Kill! He let out a loud roar. The blood essence in his body rumbled and his battle blood was ignited. He pushed from top to bottom. This was a power that could topple mountains and overturn seas. He was like a war god who pushed the sea of stars in the sky, revealing a spiritual will that could tear everything apart. Boom! Su Yan fiercely spread out his arms. Under the shocked gazes of the entire audience, the true dragon and true phoenix energy sources gushing out from Shui Guan's body were torn apart, forming two large black cracks. Oh my God! Everyone present cried out in alarm. They saw that Su Yan was like a heaven-defying giant. Even the true dragon and true phoenix had to temporarily avoid him. They were suppressed by his aura until they trembled and began to distort and shatter. Moo! Su Yan also let out a roar, as if a supreme being from the demon realm had come into being. It was the roar of a primordial bull. Golden ripples filled the sky and swept forward to bombard Shui Guan's body. Bang bang! Shui Guan's body trembled violently, and his body was covered in bloody wounds. It was as though millions of golden mountains had smashed into his body, causing his organs to tremble. His chest was in pain, and blood was seeping out from the corner of his mouth. Bastard! Shui Guan's eyes widened. He opened his heavenly eye of great Tao. His eyes were purple, and millions of rays of great Tao light rose from them. They were like rolling threads of great Tao, one after another. They were like threads formed by great Tao. It was very shocking. The brilliance in that instant caused a huge explosion in the void. The scene was too shocking. After all, it was the heavenly eye of the Great Path. Shui Guan had attracted the attention of all the major races when he activated the heavenly eye of the Great Path years ago. The power of the heavenly eye of the Great Path was needless to say. It could trigger the power of the origin of the Great Path and kill strong enemies. It was the first time that Su Yan had touched the heavenly eye of the Great Path. He felt that his body was being confined and restrained. There were more wounds on his body. He even felt that the heavenly eye of the Great Path had pierced through his body and scattered his vitality. However, Su Yan's response was also very direct. His martial path heavenly eyes widened angrily, as if two large golden eyes of the sea had been opened. The martial path aura that was emitted could be said to be tens of thousands of layers of Su Yan's. He was using all kinds of divine abilities and secret techniques to attack his enemy. Boom! Two terrifying ocular techniques clashed here. unleashing a great collision. They were fighting here with their bodies covered in blood, but Su Yin took the initiative step by step. He bombarded Shueguan until he was wounded again and again. He paid back all the injuries he had suffered just now, with interest. Whoosh whoosh! A ray of yin and yang light suddenly ignited on the battlefield. It was scorching and sharp. It was like an immortal sword being pulled out by Shueguan. In a short time, the yin and yang qi combined into a yin and yang sword qi that emitted a power that could kill gods and immortals. Su Yan's heart trembled. This killing weapon was extremely powerful. Even he felt like his head would fall to the ground. This yin-yang sword embryo was extremely rare and precious. Moreover, it was an antique. No one knew what era it was from. Be careful! The spectators were alarmed, all of them shouting out to warn Su Yin. However, Su Yin didn't evade. When the immortal iron staff entered his hand, his entire body surged with heaven overflowing light. He held this immortal iron staff and merged with its spirit. At this moment, Su Yin felt a type of courage that was bestowed upon him. He released the energy that could crush the universe's star domain. Dong dong dong. Su Yin swung the immortal iron staff with a single hand, striking out again and again in a violent and tyrannical manner. He smashed forward directly, shattering the sword radiance that engulfed the sky. Blade light and sword shadows filled heaven and earth. The two great vicious weapons collided together, making the world change color. The ground even released thunderous sounds. Why do I feel like they won't decide a victor? They won't. They will definitely decide life and death. Right. They are fighting with their lives on the line. Can't you see that they have both suffered serious injuries? The emotions of the people outside surged. This type of battle was too intense and brilliant. They fought from the sky to the ground, the battlefield reaching hundreds of thousands of li. All types of divine abilities and secret techniques collided uniformly, making it difficult to determine who would win. Su Yan's flesh was stronger. Shueguan's divine force was more exuberant. Both of them had their own advantages and weaknesses. Quickly look, are they going to carry out the most terrifying life and death struggle? Suddenly, the hearts of the spectators trembled. The group of old antiques from various races all widened their eyes. Even the divine king calmed down to watch the battle. How long? Above the territory that was as heavy as the sky, below the dome of heaven, two terrifying energy ripples swept out furiously. It was like two small worlds separated by 100 li, releasing an incomparably terrifying confrontation. The storm was countless times more spectacular than a tornado. Everyone saw the stars in outer space trembling. Perhaps they really might fall. Su Yin and Shueguan roared at the same time. Even though they were 100 li apart, they attacked each other like lightning, drawing out a heaven overflowing storm between them. That immortal iron staff and the yin-yang sword core collided at the same time. Enormous sparks flew outwards, burning down the sky. Kill! Su Yin roared loudly. His palm formed a fist imprint. His tyrannical body threw itself forward, brandishing his fists and smashing them forward. Hand over your life. Shueguan also roared angrily. He raised his fists like a monarch, about to control the starry sky and suppress all kings. Dong! The two unrivaled young giants smashed into each other just like that. The moment their fists shook, the mountains and rivers within 10,000 li began to cry. The boundless sea of clouds surged, and the entire world was about to be shaken up. When their fists smashed into each other, the world exploded. The void ruptured, turning into a great black hole. Someone saw bloody light. The two fists collided, scattering down large amounts of blood. Kill! Their eyes were red from fighting. Fist after fist smashed into each other, releasing terrifying essence energy. During the process of fighting, the dragon and phoenix within Shueguan's body emerged angrily, about to tear Su Yan to pieces. Primal chaos surged within Su Yan's body. One after another, indistinct figures towered in the prehistoric era, blocking the true dragon and true phoenix. In short, the battle was too intense. They continuously attacked each other over 100 times, erupting with their peak combat strength. Blood gushed out from the pores of their flesh, and even their bones were about to explode. This was completely fighting with their lives on the line, killing everyone in the world until they were terrified. It was as if they were stepping on the corpses of kings, carrying out an exceptional slaughter. I will definitely cut you down. Shueguan finally released an unrivaled mad roar. He seemed to have turned into a tyrannical war god. The dragon and phoenix revolved around his body, his entire body releasing a terrifying aura. Wong. His fists released terrifying radiance. He killed until the world was about to return to the primordial world, starting all over again. Look quickly. What kind of divine ability is that? Everyone present turned pale. Even the Sun Dome and King Flash were greatly alarmed. Shueguan was still hiding something at the bottom of his chest that he hadn't used up until now. Now, he had no choice but to erupt with his most powerful reserves in order to destroy Su Yin. Even the eyes of the Almighty, sitting cross-legged in the primal chaos, blossomed with extraordinary splendor. It was obvious that he recognized the fist technique Shueguan brandished. This was the initial fist, known as one of the most powerful divine abilities in history. Unexpectedly, it was in the hands of Shueguan. Once news of the appearance of such a fist technique spread, it would cause a sensation throughout the universe. Even the supreme beings of the heavens would pay attention to it. Perhaps they would kill their way over to obtain the initial fist and perfect their own invincible foundation. After all, it was known as the most powerful secret technique in history. During the Desolate Era, it was the most powerful divine ability of the Burial Realm race. Boom! The profound meaning of the initial fist was released. It appeared supreme and impenetrable. The great Tao that filled the sky began to recede like a tide. The profound meaning of such a fist technique was quite shocking. It simply penetrated the order of the universe. Otherwise, how could it cause the great Tao to recede? The old antiques of various races turned pale. This divine ability was too abnormal. It could strike out an invincible domain. They had never heard of such a secret technique. After all, the 9 most powerful divine abilities in history had been lost for countless years. Now, there were very few cultivators who still knew about them. Everything ceased to exist. This was the initial fist, returning to the beginning, returning to the origin. The great Tao no longer existed. Only the battle body was eternal. It was as if they had returned to the era of the human race's ancestors who proved their Tao through martial arts. Shueguan's glory was boundless. Once the initial fist was unleashed, there was simply no technique in the world. The initial fist, known as one of the most powerful divine abilities in history, was released by Shueguan in anger. He wanted to blast Su Yin into ashes. Su Yin, how do you feel about dying under the fist technique of your race? Shueguan's expression was cold. Even now, he still had the confidence of being invincible. He waved the initial fist and used his strongest trump card to blast Su Yin to death. Shueguan originally didn't want to reveal it. After all, the initial fist was very important. It wouldn't do him any good if it was leaked. However, in order to kill Su Yin, Shueguan had no choice but to use his most powerful killing technique. Die. Come here. Su Yin's battle body was stained with blood. He was like a dragon or tiger that had been released from its cage. He pounced and shouted angrily. Otherwise, you won't have a chance. I'm so scared that I pee my pants. Many readers have threatened to send me razor blades. I've been in the hotel for the past few days. I only have time to write in the morning and at night. Qing Tian has already tried his best. Many readers have said that Qing Tian owes a lot of chapters. Cry. I really want to explain. Emperor's Road has 3 chapters every day. Every chapter that I write is 3,000 plus words, and 3 chapters is 10,000 words. In the past, Unparalleled only had 3 chapters, but Unparalleled's 3 chapters is 7,000 words. In fact, compared to other books, I already have 1 more chapter. After a long period of time, I'm also quite tired. I also really want to write more chapters, but I don't have enough time. Every day, writing 3 chapters takes about 7 hours, and editing takes about an hour. After 8 hours, I'm already unable to type anymore. After all, it is very taxing on my brain. Of course, I have a stockpile of chapters because there are times when I get writer's block and can't write anymore. I can only give out stockpiles of chapters. I'm really quite helpless. If I don't have stockpiles of chapters, then I would really have to stop updating frequently. Stopping updating doesn't exist for me. From the moment I started writing until now, I have never stopped updating even once. I also swear to the heavens, from the moment I started writing until now, Qing Tian has never rested for a single day. If it is not because I am writing, then it is because I have encountered some problems. There is no need for me to lie to everyone about this. Furthermore, I can also adjust my updates. I will update 2 chapters every day and explode on the weekends. I will still update 3 chapters every day. If I really encounter some problems, everyone can understand that I can update a few chapters less. Which one do you all think is better? Roar. Not much to say. There will definitely be readers who will scold me for reading my book and giving me face. Chapter 585. You're way too arrogant. Shui Guan's blood-stained body was burning fiercely as the mysteries of the initial fist were awakening. This was the initial fist, one of the 9 most powerful divine abilities in history. Once this fist technique was unleashed, the great Tao would retreat and only the initial fist would remain eternally. This scene made all of the deities' faces pale. What kind of profound mystery was this? This kind of fist technique was world-shaking. It was like a heaven-defying fist technique evolved from the order of the universe. Once it was used, even the great Tao would collapse. In other words, in this special domain, only the body was supreme. No other power of the great Tao would exist. Some people's expressions changed after seeing the clues. This was a heaven-defying fist technique specialized in breaking through the supreme power of a star domain. If the Sun Dome or King Flash's bodies weren't strong enough, they would probably be killed by Shui Guan's fist. Of course, the initial fist wasn't perfect. It was related to the environment of the universe. In other words, the initial fist might not necessarily encounter the great Tao imprint of the most powerful life form ancient star. It could also cause the great Tao to retreat. But the current manifestation was already powerful enough. The most powerful divine ability in history wasn't just for show. Although the current environment of the universe couldn't unleash the full power of the initial fist, it was already powerful enough. Su Yan, hand over your life. Shui Guan let out a long cry as he madly rushed over like an emperor who ruled the world. He waved his fist disdainfully and wanted to drink the blood of all the kings. The radiance was too resplendent and surging. In this world where the great Tao didn't exist, only this fist existed eternally. Moreover, it was aimed at Su Yan's body and wanted to smash him into pieces. I'm afraid he doesn't understand the eldest brother. The eldest brother hasn't proven his Tao at all. Some Hokuto disciples were watching with cold hearts. Su Yan hadn't proven his Tao. From the beginning of the battle until now, he had only been using his physical strength. In other words, the special pattern of the initial fist didn't affect Su Yan much at all. As long as he could block the abnormal power of the initial fist, Su Yan would be able to withstand it and break Shui Guan's most powerful killing move. The energy fluctuations were too intense. It was as if heaven and earth were boiling. In the blurry space, only Shui Guan looked majestic and domineering, with a bearing that could suppress the world. When that fist approached Su Yan's blood-stained body also burned fiercely. His physical body gave off all kinds of light. His body was like the universe, as if it contained a starry sky. Buzz! At this moment, Su Yan seemed to have retracted all his aura and turned into an unparalleled physique that could swallow the stars. What is he doing? Su Yan remained motionless under the shocked gazes of the audience. It was as if he had turned into a condensed starry sky, revealing a domineering aura. Some people could see that Su Yan was using the tyrant body technique. This secret technique would improve along with the improvement of the physical body, and its defensive power was extremely strong. Under the state of the tyrant body technique, Su Yin seemed to have put on a battle suit, bright and blazing. Has he gone mad? Everyone was aghast as they saw Su Yan's body was like a starry sky with a domineering might. He was standing there with the power to resist Shui Guan's initial fist head-on. The deities turned pale. How could he resist this fist head-on? Was he sure he wouldn't be blasted into ashes? This was the most powerful secret technique in history, the initial fist. Who could resist the power of the initial fist? Initial fist kill. Shui Guan approached and punched. The terrifying energy spread out and crushed the space. Everyone could see clearly that Shui Guan had gathered the strongest power on his fist and bombarded Su Yin with it. They all saw that Su Yan's body was penetrated, and his whole body was about to be shattered by the fist. Kill! Su Yin endured the pain and let out a wild roar. Just as Shui Guan's fist was about to hit him, his fist also soared up in an instant. The fist of time erupted, and this fist penetrated through time and space, penetrating any energy and material obstruction. The fist of time and the initial fist both had special effects, and the fist of time could attack indiscriminately and penetrate any energy beam. In order to prevent any accidents from happening, Su Yin waited for the moment when the initial fist power was mostly exhausted. He very decisively and savagely unleashed the fist of time and solidly bombarded Shui Guan's chest. Boom! A loud and oppressive sound resounded between heaven and earth. It was like the scene of divine iron being shattered. Oh my God! Everyone turned pale. Many cultivators opened their eyes wide as they saw the sky full of blood. This kind of life-risking method was too cruel. It was like injuring the enemy by 1,000, but also injuring himself by 800. The sputtering blood rushed into the sky, blooming into beautiful flowers of blood. Under the trembling gazes of all around, Su Yin and Shui Guan were both sent flying by the force of each other's fists. During this process, their bodies were on the verge of shattering, and they were even on the verge of exploding into a bloody mist. Roar! Shui Guan let out a long and mournful cry. His chest was torn apart, and Su Yan's fist had caused his back to tremble and bleed. This was the scene of his back being penetrated, and he had suffered serious internal injuries. His sternum was broken. This injury was too serious. Unbelievable. He is too crazy. He is trading his life with Shui Guan's. Is he not afraid of being killed first? Some people's hearts trembled. They felt that this method was too crazy, and a single mistake could lead to defeat and death. Just now, Shui Guan's body was almost blown apart by Su Yan's fist. If it wasn't for his powerful body, that fist would have taken his life. Look at Su Yin. It seems like his injuries aren't that serious. The entire audience was in an uproar. The great characters of various races were extremely shocked. They suspected that Su Yan's physique was too powerful. Even in his previous state, he couldn't shatter Su Yan's body. On the other hand, Shui Guan's injuries were disastrous. Although Su Yin had suffered serious injuries, and there was a bowl-sized bloody hole in his chest, Su Yan's aura hadn't declined by much. He was still roaring towards the sky. This was a young tycoon who was bathed in blood, and he was emitting a savage spiritual will. Su Yin had used the tyrant body technique to block, and the origin scripture to resist the power of the origin fist. Without a doubt, Su Yin had succeeded. The origin fist was indeed powerful. However, the origin scripture and origin fist were both secret techniques of the burial realm. Sure enough, he had used the origin scripture to evolve his body into a universe, and blocked the destructive power of the origin fist. Su Yan's external injuries were severe, but his internal injuries weren't. No, the champion of our race is invincible. How can he not defeat Su Yin? The experts of the Shui family lost control and roared in grief and indignation. They thought that Shui Guan's punch could definitely defeat Su Yin, but it didn't. On the contrary, Shui Guan was hit by the time fist, and his injuries were even more serious. Moreover, Su Yin, who had been sent flying far away, had a bloody aura surging from his body. He was like a terrifying leader who had gone on a rampage on the battlefield. He was like an iron-blooded war god who had killed his way out of purgatory as he moved towards Shueguan. Roar! Shueguan let out an angry roar and crawled out of the pool of blood. His damaged body was burning, and his lifeblood essence was burning. He wanted to reform his body and fight Su Yin. However, the injuries he had suffered just now were too serious. Su Yin had also unleashed his strongest strength, smashing down and engaging in an intense battle with Shueguan. Bang, bang, bang. The sky was filled with splashes of blood. Their battle was incomparably cruel. Su Yin waved his spiritual will to kill Shueguan. His blood-stained hair was scattered, and his moves were grand and fierce. Many people were silent. They saw that Shueguan was being suppressed. Su Yan's aura was too ferocious. He swung his fist forward, and Shueguan spat out blood and staggered back. It was difficult for him to stop Su Yin. The power in his body was about to dry up. People saw that Shueguan's injuries were getting worse and worse, and his body was about to collapse uncontrollably. Are the two Supremes going to be defeated and killed by Madman Su's fists? It's not that Shueguan isn't strong enough, but that Su Yin is too abnormal. Even such powerful energy can't suppress him. Now Su Yin has the upper hand. The spectators were shocked. Shueguan kept coughing up blood and was sent flying by Su Yin. This was a sign that he was about to be defeated. Is this a battle of life and death? Many people cried out in surprise. They saw a condensed ancient universe shining when he pounced forward. His entire fist emitted a light that could destroy the starry sky, and many projections of the stars of the universe revolved. This was the eruption of the Big Dipper fist. The fist was resplendent and radiant, and the stars of the universe revolved around it. Su Yin was like an iron-blooded war god who pushed the heroes forward. Shueguan would definitely die with this punch. I'm invincible. Shueguan let out a sorrowful roar. His body was covered in blood, and his bones were constantly shattering. The life origin in his body was about to collapse completely, and now he had crawled up and said such a sentence. I'm invincible. Shueguan's spirit hadn't been defeated yet. Facing Su Yan's Big Dipper fist, he let out a ferocious roar. Su Yan, I really didn't expect that the secret technique I used to fight for supremacy in the heavens would appear on your body. What is he saying? The expressions of the big shots from various races changed. Fight against the Supremes? Could it be that Shueguan still had other trump cards? Trump cards that were even more shocking than the two Supremes? Roar! Shueguan was like an injured beast. His blood-stained body glowed, and the dragon and phoenix roared in his body. Under the shocked gazes of everyone present, the originally weak Shueguan, because of the operation of the dragon and phoenix, was now infinitely rising and terrifying at an astonishing speed. Not good. Su Yan's eyes widened as he felt a fatal threat. This was an unfathomable variable. This was the variable of the fusion of the two Supremes' essences, as if it was evolving into a constitution even more terrifying than the Supreme's physiques. The fusion of the dragon and phoenix seemed to evolve into a chaotic energy that emitted a boundless and terrifying aura. Everyone present was dumbfounded. The fusion of two extreme energies was like the birth of a brand new constitution. In the process of their fusion, they emitted a monstrous storm that crushed the sky into pieces. The Big Dipper fist was blocked by Shueguan. I've paid the price. Now it's time for you, Su Yin, to present your head. Chapter 586. Divine energy surged in this place like black clouds crowding the earth. The moment it spread out, energy ripples swept through the heavens. The scene was spectacular to the extreme. The fusion of two types of physiques gave birth to an unparalleled supreme divine might. The space in all directions rumbled and undulated, almost filling the entire world. This power was truly boundless. Moreover, it contained the supreme killing intent derived from the fusion of two supreme physiques. It was like thousands of black mountains smashing into the space in all directions, unleashing an all-around suppression. Cough. Su Yan's body trembled from the shock. He coughed up large mouthfuls of blood and staggered backward. This kind of power was extremely difficult to resist. Su Yan's blood and qi were boiling, and shock flashed in the depths of his eyes. This energy was too terrifying. The sky and the earth were engulfed in black energy fluctuations, and there was no way to avoid it. The fusion of two supreme physiques. Oh my God, he's really fused a brand new supreme physique. Is this an invincible physique? An unparalleled combat physique that can contend with the supreme beings? The deities were fiercely debating. This matter was too big. The supreme physiques were strong enough, but they couldn't imagine what kind of combat physique would be born when two supreme physiques were fused into one. The expressions of the younger generation's geniuses changed. This was important. Could it be said that Shui Guan had already accumulated a part of the foundation to fight against the supreme beings? Once his combat physique was developed, he would be able to fight against such existences? In any case, Madman Su is finished. Look, he can't resist the divine energy in Shui Guan's body at all. I'm afraid he's really going to end in a crushing defeat. No, Madman Su is also going to end in glory. Just now, he was shocking enough and could definitely be called a supreme being of the younger generation. Unfortunately, Su Yan isn't a supreme being yet. He's no match for Shui Guan, who has used all his trump cards. There was a lot of discussion in the field. This was a divine storm that was enough to make people despair. It whistled as it arrived, engulfing the heavens and the earth, suppressing the demeanor of all the kings. Even King Flash and Sun Dome were shocked. It seemed that the power of Shui Guan's constitution was comparable to the origin of Tao of the most powerful ancient planets. But it was impossible to tell how strong it was until they fought. The Celestial Lords were powerful because they could unleash the origin of Tao at critical moments to kill their enemies. However, the power Shui Guan now possessed was shocking. The moment he killed his way out of the black energy, he cruelly said, "Su Yan, you can go on your way in peace. You didn't lose in vain. There will be a day when I will stand at the strongest." The black energy that filled the sky fell from the sky as if it was the end of the world. Millions of black waves fell down like the energy of millions of universes. This was great power, power that could be considered unmatched. It couldn't be changed, crushing down just like that. Roar! Su Yan let out a long roar. His constitution was burning, emitting golden light. However, in the face of Shui Guan's abnormal divine power, the flames burning in Su Yan's constitution were about to be extinguished. It's useless. You can't stop me. I paid a great price. Now, it's time for you to offer your head. Shui Guan's attack was like a black storm descending from the sky. This was too frightening. Su Yan's battle physique erupted with golden divine radiance, but it was still riddled with holes as countless divine might descended upon the world. Puff! Su Yan coughed out blood. This kind of energy was extremely difficult to resist. He was knocked away with excruciating pain all over his body. If it weren't for his strong constitution, he would have been killed instantly. Boom! Shui Guan swooped down like a purple true dragon and a black true phoenix. The energy of the two constitutions mixed and released overwhelming power, crashing towards Su Yan. Su Yan let out a loud roar. The two heroes emitted the flames of war, exuding the belief of never giving up. He resisted frantically, unleashing his own energy and using the immortal iron staff to defend himself. He attacked in all directions, blocking the endless energy storm. The black light covered the sun. People could see the golden light burning inside through the collision of energy, but Su Yan's blood essence couldn't penetrate it. It was suppressed as soon as it was awakened. This was a bloody and cruel suppression. The onlookers were shocked. How could they fight? Su Yan couldn't stop Shui Guan at all. Shui Guan, what good guy. After this battle, my family will reward him greatly. Zhu Yangbo was full of smiles. Their target was Su Yan. As long as they could capture Su Yan alive, many things would be cleared up. There was no suspense now. Su Yan was being suppressed, and his injuries were getting worse. It's as if I can see Su Yan's blood splashing through the sky, forging the legend of our family's invincible champion. The people of the Shui family all spoke like this. There's no suspense. No matter how much this trash struggles today, he won't be able to escape the gates of death. The experts of the dark underworld race sneered. You're already at your limit. The black energy didn't reduce in the slightest. Shui Guan blasted down with a world-shaking energy storm. It was a terrifying scene. Endless black energy descended from the sky like lightning, drowning out the void and swallowing everything. Su Yan's figure was completely blurred. Some people could even see the scene of his body and soul being destroyed. Su Yan was about to explode and vanish into thin air under this kind of despairing attack. The crisis of death was so close that it was almost within reach. It was about to shatter everything. His blood-stained body was suffused with radiance. His battle blood had been ignited, and scripture chants that shook the 9 heavens and 10 earths were transmitted from his treasured body. The moment the Origin Sutra was ignited, a unique energy fluctuation was emitted from the heaven-like domain. The world he was in was still a world, but the mountains weren't mountains, and the water wasn't water. Su Yan seemed to see the heaven and earth blending into one, turning into a world where all things were born and all creatures were educated. This place was like a corner of the universe from the primordial era. It had been preserved to this day and was filled with a kind of boundless aura. It was like a human body that could reach this step with the body as the universe. Su Yan's body was suffused with the Origin Sutra. The energy inside his body gave birth to all things, including stars, suns, and moons. They were blurry, but they were real. Right now, they were all burning and resonating with the operation of the Origin Sutra. The main reason was that Su Yan saw a distant era, a corner of the world, a universe environment, an era in which the Origin Sutra was the Mother Sutra. The Origin Sutra was Su Yan's greatest treasure. Because the world he came into contact with was different, the aura surging in Su Yan's body also changed. There was a kind of terrifying, barbaric aura. The primordial power was like the most original power in the human body, and it surged out from his body. What is that? The surrounding cultivators were stunned. They saw that Su Yan's body seemed to have disappeared and turned into a universe that was operating. All kinds of brilliance interweaved, and it was very brilliant. It was also filled with eternal power. When his black energy body fell from the sky, Su Yan's body seemed to be immortal. This was the most original power of the Origin Sutra, with the body as the foundation and the Tao as the law. Su Yan's body lacked the power of the Tao, so he couldn't unleash the combat strength of the great Tao realm. However, Su Yan's understanding of the Origin Sutra was strong enough. He could stand in an invincible position and be immortal. Dong, dong, dong. Shui Guan attacked like a madman. The black storm filled the sky and attacked with thousands of layers. He wanted to tear Su Yan apart. Although the thousands of layers of black storm bombarded Su Yan's body, and even the power of the Origin Sutra that he had gathered was about to collapse, Su Yan still withstood it. Ha ha ha. He was laughing loudly, blood flowing out from the corners of his mouth. Although his battle body was damaged, Su Yan still laughed. This was the supreme profundity of the physical body. As long as he obtained enough Tao techniques, he would be able to obtain stronger fruits. The power here doesn't belong to you. It comes from this world. Shui Guan let out a furious roar. He had already used his strongest trump card. How could he be willing to accept this? I'm using the world to prove my Tao, Su Yan replied coldly. Where does your power come from? This isn't yours at all. You're just a fake body. Maybe you can control it in the future, but it doesn't belong to you now. Crack! As Su Yan's voice fell, Shui Guan's body, which was already severely injured, cracked. He was using this method to fight Su Yan. How long could Shui Guan last? Now the serious consequences had arrived. These wounds extended from the deepest parts of his body, wanting to completely destroy his body. Ah! Shui Guan let out a furious roar. I'm invincible. Su Yan, you can't stop me. Hand over your life. He went completely berserk. All kinds of black energy surged and even merged into one, turning into a hand of darkness that could reach the heavens and the earth. It was going to crush Su Yin directly. Su Yin stepped forward, one step after another. With every step he took, the world rumbled continuously. Impossible. A group of old gods stood up in unison, their hearts filled with disbelief. Because with every step Su Yin took, the world began to rumble along with Su Yin. What kind of embodiment was this? This was the fusion of the world's power, converging on Su Yin. It made him seem like the ruler of that world. He controls the world's power. Many people laughed bitterly. It was too difficult to kill a 6th-rank Esper in that kind of special world. Su Yin could have done it from the beginning of the battle, but he didn't erupt in advance. A 6th-rank Esper could control the power of the world's power. Moreover, with the strange power of the world in this kind of world, how terrifying was it? It was equivalent to controlling the great Tao dragon vein. Even so, you can't do it. Shui Guan let out a low roar. That large black hand covered the sky and began to crush down from above. It had to be said that he was very strong. The gathered power of the world was distorted, being crushed layer by layer. Although much of the energy was blocked, it still came down, wanting to destroy Su Yin. It's time to end this. Su Yin soared high into the sky. The sound of scriptures in his body shook the heavens. It was like a condensed universe was released and gathered in Su Yan's fist. It erupted with light that overflowed into the heavens, piercing through the darkness. Kill! Su Yan roared. He raised his fist and punched the sky. He exhausted everything and erupted with the power of the beginning sutra. Chapter 587. It was a bloody scene. Shui Guan's body had caved in, and the sky was filled with a rain of blood. Flesh and broken bones fell from the sky and dyed the earth red. Many people's eyes reflected the bloody light, reflecting the process of Shui Guan's body collapsing. Strands of cold air rose from their bodies. From the beginning of the battle until now, variables had occurred one after another. They were all too powerful. Among the younger generation, they could be called the rulers of the world and looked down on their peers. Now, they had used all of their divine abilities and all of their methods. However, the final outcome made all the experts pale. Many old deities were lifeless. This reversal was too domineering. Shui Guan's dual supreme physiques and even the powerful combat strength derived from the fusion of the two supreme physiques actually couldn't suppress Su Yin. On the contrary, Su Yin had reversed the situation. With the power of the Origin Sutra, he had shattered the fusion of the two supreme physiques. In fact, some people could see that even if Shui Guan could continue fighting, serious problems would appear in their bodies. Shui Guan has lost. The whole audience was in an uproar. There was no suspense anymore. Shui Guan's body had collapsed, and only half of it remained. His combat strength had been greatly reduced, and he had declined to the extreme. How is this possible? He let out a painful roar. His eyes were full of disbelief. He still couldn't understand how he had lost. The world was no longer the world of the past. The environment had changed, and the Origin Sutra could no longer display its true power. However, in the end, he was still defeated. He was defeated by Su Yin. How can I be defeated? How is this possible? Shui Guan let out a sinister roar. He wasn't willing to be defeated like this. His physiques hadn't completely merged, and his most glorious era hadn't arrived. How could he be willing to be defeated by Su Yin like this? I won't lose. He was like a wild beast that had gone mad. The remaining half of his body was shining, and a powerful confidence emerged. He felt that he hadn't lost yet, and could still continue fighting. This made all the experts pale. Shui Guan's willpower was too strong. If this kind of person could survive the battlefield, he would definitely have the qualifications to reach the peak in the future. Buzz! His tattered body glowed as he pounced towards Su Yin. His body was filled with cold, killing intent. In the process of his attack, The dragon and phoenix manifested once again. Although the source power had been separated, the supreme chi of the dragon and phoenix actually passed through his body. Oh my God, is he crazy? Is Shui Guan going to drag Su Yin along with him? The spectating elites were all frightened. The origin of man was the source of life. Once this thing was used, it was equivalent to offering one's own life. However, Shui Guan was very decisive. He unleashed his Essence Paragon energy. Although Shui Guan was seriously injured, this Essence Paragon energy was still terrifying enough. It was like two living Paragon entities, filled with primordial killing intent. Su Yin shifted his position, wanting to use spatial bending to dodge the Essence Paragon energy. However, the two Essence Paragon energy locked onto Su Yin. One was a purple true dragon, and the other was a black true phoenix. The moment they attacked, all kinds of Paragon energy bombarded Su Yin. Bam! His whole body trembled violently. At the moment of contact, his body couldn't withstand it, and two bloody wounds appeared. Even the Essence Paragon energy continued to crush Su Yan's body, wanting to tear it to pieces. Su Yan coughed up blood. He was sent flying and rolled on the ground. Su Yan let out a painful cry. The two Essence Paragon energy were too powerful. They were like living true dragons and true phoenixes, not like a kind of inherited constitution. The two Supreme Being energies emitted a terrifying and ominous light as they tried to break through Su Yan's body. This is bad. Are they all going to die in battle? The spectating cultivators' hearts sank. Shui Guan's Essence Paragon energy was definitely not going to make it. His vitality was probably exhausted by now. However, Su Yan was also attacked by the two Paragon energy. It was very likely that he wouldn't be able to hold on. However, this wasn't the first time Su Yan had been attacked by the Essence Paragon energy. Back then, Zhu Anbang had used the celestial body's Essence Paragon energy to kill Su Yan. Unfortunately, not only had Zhu Anbang failed, he had even helped Su Yan achieve his goal. When the countless strands of the Supreme Being's origin pierced through Su Yan's body, his situation became even worse. Cracks appeared on his body, and no matter how intense the light that erupted from his body was, it was difficult for him to resist. However, during this process, Su Yan's constitution was awakened, and it was filled with the aura of calamity. His constitution was like a giant beast opening its bloody maw. The Essence Paragon energy that was wreaking havoc in his body began to distort because of Su Yan's constitution awakening. Just like this, strands of true dragon energy and true phoenix energy penetrated Su Yan's body, causing his incomplete Essence Paragon energy to burn. He greedily absorbed these two types of Essence Paragon energy. Moreover, during the process of absorption, Su Yan's Essence Paragon energy erupted. Faster, faster. Su Yan roared in his heart. This opportunity didn't come easy. He had to seize it. Just a small amount of Origin Supreme Chi was enough to cause Su Yan's physique to begin to boil violently. Moreover, it began to rapidly strengthen, and there was a kind of heaven-defying awakening that completely suppressed the two Supreme Chis. Without a doubt, Su Yan's Essence Paragon energy was too special. He could absorb the Essence Paragon energy of true dragons and true phoenixes. His Essence Paragon energy seemed to require all kinds of nourishment. In the past, during the second trial of the strongest smelting trial, the celestial battle body's Essence Paragon energy could also be counted as one. This included the Origin Treasured Liquid. All kinds of Essence Paragon energy penetrated Su Yan's Essence Paragon energy and finally converged into Su Yan's Essence World, turning into nourishment that nourished his Essence Paragon energy. His Essence Paragon energy began to strengthen and flourish. This was Su Yan's lifeline, just like his fate. This allowed Su Yan to experience the benefits. As his Essence Paragon energy began to strengthen, he felt closer to the world. This was a very special feeling. It was hard to describe or explain, but Su Yan still felt that this wasn't enough. His essence body didn't need too much nourishment. It only needed all kinds of nourishment to supplement its own deficiencies. Look, the entire audience was silent as they stared at the struggling Su Yin. At this moment, someone cried out in alarm. All the powerhouses looked as if they had seen a ghost. This was because Shueguan had crawled up. Heavens, he's alive again. From death to resurrection. This strong contrast was hard to believe. However, Shueguan had indeed crawled up and even resurrected. Although he only had half of his body left, he still survived. It's over. The outcome has been reversed again. Madman Su has been entangled by the two essence paragons. Shueguan can easily kill him. The surroundings were in an uproar. When they saw Shueguan crawling over, their eyes were full of malevolence as they charged towards Su Yin. Our race's champion is invincible. The Shui family lost control of their emotions and roared. Their eyes were filled with doubt, hope, and worship. Go to hell. Shueguan rushed over like a vicious dragon. His blood-stained body glowed, and the light of yin and yang emerged. His physique had changed. It was like an yin and yang body. It was like a man and a woman. Some of the old powerhouses of the Crepe Myrtle sect were shocked. Why did they feel that Shueguan was somewhat similar to Sect Master Crepe Myrtle? Sect Master Crepe Myrtle was like a man and a woman. Could it be? They had a thought in their minds. Could it be that the Crepe Myrtle Sect Master and Shueguan were related by blood? They didn't dare to think about it. If this matter was spread out, it would cause too much of a commotion. They didn't dare to continue guessing. Yin and Yang body. The elders of Shui family were powerless and directly paralyzed on the ground. The legend in their minds was shattered. They remembered a long time ago when Shueguan was born with a very special yin and yang body. It was a body that was like a man and a woman. It was very special. This kind of body was so special that it was even rarer than the supreme body. It was rumored that the yin and yang body could cultivate two kinds of heavenly arts. Once it was completed and combined into one, it wouldn't be inferior to the supreme body. Of course, it was very difficult, very difficult. However, Shueguan was taken away by several very terrifying existences when he was young. There was no news of him since then. When Shueguan returned to the family again, he already had a dual supreme body. But now, Shueguan had lost the source of his dual supreme body and used it to kill Su Yin. Then, the trump card that Shueguan was so proud of was also gone. Unless he could recombine the two supreme bodies, but was it really that easy? Yin and yang body, dual supreme bodies. Is he trying to create a new kind of body? In the Divine Spirit Mountain, the important figures of various races were nervously watching. No one noticed that there was a figure sitting cross-legged in a blurry purple cloud. It looked very small, like a grain of sand. However, when she slightly released her aura, it was like a purple giant star, emitting all kinds of terrifying fluctuations. She thought to herself, to be able to find the source of the two supreme bodies, could it be that she has severed the two supreme bodies? Or did he kill the true dragon and true phoenix? Even so, it's very difficult to cultivate a dual supreme body. The blurry woman in purple was shocked. Who was the important figure behind Shueguan? This method was too terrifying. Was he cultivating a disciple? Or was he cultivating something? She couldn't see through it. Besides, in her eyes, Shueguan had already been defeated. Go to hell. Shueguan had already rushed over. He looked like a fierce ghost. He felt that he could recombine the source of power after killing Su Yin, and even gain more benefits. His palms emitted the light of yin and yang, and he slapped Su Yan's body fiercely. The attack hit Su Yan's body firmly. Shueguan had activated the power of the source to attack. He had no other strength left, so he used other methods. It's over. Lunatic Su is going to be defeated. Shueguan won the end. Many people thought that Su Yin was completely doomed. After all, Su Yin was still lying on the ground, struggling to resist the power of the two supreme bodies. Facing Shueguan, who was attacking Su Yin, it seemed that he couldn't exert any strength to resist. Su Yin didn't intend to resist in the first place. He let the power of yin and yang hit him. His body seemed to have turned into a yin and yang vortex. Shueguan couldn't suppress Su Yin at all with his current power. On the contrary, Su Yin could guide Shueguan's special yin and yang source to repair his source of life again. Chapter 588. Will both of them fall after a fierce battle? Some people mocked and ridiculed. They couldn't bear to see them with such great potential. After all, they weren't heroes from peak clans. They felt that they had relied on luck to reach this step, so they might as well fight to the death. Not necessarily. I think Shueguan can survive. His constitution is too extraordinary. This kind of hero is blessed by the heavens and might not necessarily fall. Some people expressed their opinions. They felt that Shueguan's victory was already in his grasp. After all, Su Yin was trapped by the supreme energy, while Shueguan hadn't exhausted all of his energy. He still had the power to kill Su Yin. Right now, no one could say who would die in the end, but no matter who survived, their names would definitely shake the universe in the future. Moreover, some people felt that even if Su Yin survived, this place would be his grave. After all, the ancient ancestor of that ancient palace was overseeing this place. However, no one knew that Su Yin was currently bitterly cultivating. The yin and yang origin energy attacked Su Yan's body. The moment his origin energy was like a human's lifeline burning, a terrifying devouring power emerged and swallowed the two types of energy. Moreover, this was still an unending absorption. It followed Shueguan's origin energy and plundered his origin energy, using it to nourish Su Yan's treasured body's origin energy. Shueguan let out an alarmed cry. His blood-stained hands were glowing as he continuously attacked Su Yin with his strongest power. However, the divine power in his body had been completely depleted. Only his origin energy could move. He discovered that no matter how strong his origin energy was, it was all absorbed by Su Yan's body until not even a trace of it was left. Shueguan was terrified. He could still endure losing his dragon and phoenix origin energy, but now that his origin energy was flowing in reverse, the person behind him couldn't possibly nurture him anymore. What's wrong with Shueguan? He clearly has the upper hand. Some people frowned. Look, Shueguan must be furious. Why couldn't he kill Su Yin in time? That's why he's roaring in anger. Some people commented and clicked their tongues in wonder. They felt that Shueguan would have no problem surviving. That's true. Our clan's Shueguan will definitely kill Su Yin without any suspense. It's just that I really didn't expect Su Yin to be so strong that he could actually fight with our clan's champion to this extent. A member of the Shuef family stood out and said with a sneer, "What a pity. Su Yin still couldn't escape his fate." Although this day was a few years late, Su Yin still died in the hands of Shueguan. How satisfying. Ha ha ha. Shueguan had been shouting the entire time, but Su Yin hadn't moved at all. Was there any suspense left? Some people even stood out and tried to worm their way into being friends with the Shuef family. At this time, no one noticed that Su Yin was cultivating. When his yin and yang energies ran through his treasured body's origin, Su Yan's life veins blazed. Su Yan's life source was transmitting an excited emotional fluctuation. It was very difficult to control it. Yin and yang were energy that the human body could not lack. The yin and yang body source was a great supplement for Su Yin. It was like two large oceans flowing into his lifeline, causing his lifeline to vibrate and release a terrifying aura. What kind of physique do you actually have? Shueguan's eyes were about to split open. He was deeply affected and found that Su Yan's origin was growing stronger. It was even like a heaven-devouring physique filled with boundless might. It was like a slumbering supreme being that was slowly awakening. Although the process was slow, Shueguan could clearly feel that Su Yan's aura was becoming more terrifying with every increase. This was a rather shocking manifestation, giving Shueguan a headache. How could this be? Why could Su Yin absorb his origin power? This didn't make sense. The main reason was that the potential of Su Yan's origin was too great. Buzz! Suddenly, Shueguan's frontal bone shone resplendently. His primordial spirit had awakened and released its strongest power, wanting to injure Su Yan's primordial spirit and interfere with his cultivation. If he allowed Su Yin to continue cultivating like this, he would be completely exhausted sooner or later. At that time, he would really die. Su Yan is still alive. The spectators were all shocked. A great battle between primordial spirits broke out, but the strength of Su Yan's primordial spirit exceeded their expectations. The golden primordial spirit carried a black sword embryo and erupted with layers of sword light, slashing furiously at Shueguan's primordial spirit. A battle between primordial spirits was very dangerous. Even great Dao realm experts didn't dare to recklessly use their primordial spirits. Shueguan also took out a primordial spirit cauldron and collided with it. His primordial spirit wasn't weak, but when it came to a true confrontation with Su Yan's primordial spirit, Shueguan's primordial spirit seemed a little weak. Su Yan cultivated the Sutra of Future. His golden primordial spirit stood in the void as if it was standing in the space-time of the future. Shueguan's primordial spirit was within sight, but not reach. Stop struggling. Your defeat is already decided. This isn't yours in the first place. Su Yan let out a cold voice. His cultivation was about to reach its end. Yin and Yang Qi gathered, penetrating Su Yan's life source. Boom! Su Yan's blood-stained battle physique erupted with divine light. It was like a supreme might that could strike the world, blurry and terrifying. It pulled the power of the blood essence in his body, illuminating the sky. What? Everyone present was in an uproar. Su Yan suddenly recovered. His body burned with a towering radiance. Although he was seriously injured, he could still move freely. Shueguan couldn't withstand such a situation at all. Not good. The Shui family members were all frightened. How could Su Yan suddenly crawl up? Just now. It was clearly Shueguan who made a move to suppress Su Yan. How could such a strange thing happen? Even the major figures of the various races didn't notice what had happened just now. However, Su Yan had indeed crawled up. Although he was seriously injured and didn't have the battle prowess he had in his prime, he was still powerful enough now. Pooh! Energy filled the sky as it smashed over. Shueguan's ruined body was blasted into pieces. Just the energy fluctuations that rushed out from Su Yan's body made him tremble. That was a vague and mysterious supreme origin surging towards Shueguan. He couldn't help but let out a miserable cry. The sky was filled with bloody radiance. Shueguan's ruined body trembled as he let out a mournful roar. He was too unwilling to accept such a miserable defeat. How could he be willing to accept it? What a pity! A sigh was transmitted from the distance. The voice was quite peculiar, as if it was produced by a machine. It was spoken word by word, extremely old-fashioned and sinister. Inside this ancient land, strands of black mist rose into the air, emitting an extremely gloomy and cold aura. It was as if the black mist had evaporated from the earth's crust. The aura was ancient and sinister. Figures were floating inside, one after another, as if they had crawled out from purgatory. They were full of ghostly energy and possessed a type of evil nature. It was as if they had appeared out of nowhere. Hua hua! They walked through the void, and the sound of heavy iron chains could be heard. These figures seemed to be surrounded by black iron chains. Kengxiang's sounds rang out, and the syllables they emitted made one's soul feel like it was about to fall. They were mysterious and indistinct. They gazed into the Forbidden Land's final destination and saw the scene of another space. Someone emitted an ancient voice. It was so hard to find a seedling, but it was destroyed just like that. What a pity! Since Shueguan has already died in battle, he's not worth nurturing anymore. He only has a powerful body, but he doesn't have a strong will. It'll be difficult for him to have any achievements in the future. This experimental subject isn't worth nurturing anymore. Let's just give up. I'm a bit unwilling. The yin-yang body is too rare. It was so hard to find a seed that could control it. Who knows how long we'll have to wait for the next one. That path is about to open. We should put our focus on the other experimental subjects. Shueguan, let's just give up. They communicated with each other. Their voices were very old-fashioned and full of mechanical sounds. Their bodies were constantly vibrating with the sound of chains crushing the void. They seemed to have been nurtured by Shueguan. They didn't emit much emotion. They only felt that it was a pity. They didn't have the slightest evaluation or murderous intent towards Su Yin, the one who had killed him. If the sound of their conversation were to spread out, only heaven knew how big of a commotion it would cause. They were nurtured by Shui Guan, but to treat them as test subjects, this was enough to make them despair. How terrifying of an existence could say such words? Shui Guan was already strong enough, but Su Yin was already exhausted. In the previous battle, the one who had almost died was him. It's over. Su Yin looked at Shui Guan, who was in great pain. Murderous intent was ignited in his body. He lunged forward without any hesitation. No! The Shui family members cried out in fury. However, they couldn't stop Su Yin at all. They could only watch as Su Yin killed Shui Guan. Ah! Shui Guan let out a sorrowful roar and said angrily, Su Yin, you will also die miserably. Very miserably. Buzz. His badly damaged body was on the verge of exploding. Suddenly, rolling black light gushed out and pierced through the void. That is, Su Yan's expression changed. He saw many purple fragments in the void. These purple fragments were even beginning to glow when they appeared. Moreover, the fragments were reforming into a purple shadow. Die! Su Yin was very decisive. He leaped over and stomped Shui Guan to death, causing him to explode into a bloody mist. Shui Guan has been defeated. He has fallen in the hands of Madman Su. Su Yin won the battle between the two young supreme beings, but he also suffered heavy casualties. They almost fought to their deaths. The spectators all gasped heavily. Shui Guan had been killed just like that. He was definitely dead, completely dead. Even his blood had been evaporated by Su Yan's power. There was no hope for him to survive. Su Yin also obtained the value of a black space at an extremely fast speed. This is mine. Su Yin gripped it tightly. The spatial treasure was extremely heavy in his hand, as heavy as a black mountain. Su Yan's heart trembled. He didn't know what was inside, but he felt that Shui Guan's value was definitely greater than Zhu Anbong's. Moreover, when Shui Guan died, the eruption of activity here was too great. The purple fragments gathered together, forming a black-robed figure. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His long black hair fell over his shoulders, and his expression was cold. He looked like he was both male and female. He stood in the void, making everyone pale, because he was the sect master of the Crepe Myrtle sect. It's you. What is your relationship with Shui Guan? Su Yan's expression changed greatly. The sect master of the Crepe Myrtle sect could actually use a special method to turn into fragments and escape into this world. Chapter 589. Sect Leader. The cultivators of the Crepe Myrtle sect who were gathered here were shocked. They never thought that the Crepe Myrtle sect leader would use such a method to escape into the mysterious world. This was a special world that even powerful beings could not enter, and it was related to Shui Guan. It's over. Mother asterisk her. Su Yin is too unlucky. He spent a lot of effort to kill Shui Guan, and now the Crepe Myrtle sect leader has appeared. It's not just unlucky. This is an unlucky year. Su Yan's fate has come to an end. Whether it's the Crepe Myrtle sect leader or the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor, Su Yin can't fight against them. Some people were stunned. They felt that this was too unfair to Su Yin. Even if Su Yin was at his peak and armed to the teeth, he still wouldn't be able to defeat the Crepe Myrtle sect leader. Why do you say that? In order to protect Su Yin, the Crepe Myrtle sect leader paid a great price to fight against the Divine King. Someone said. The people around didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There was definitely a transaction of interest, but now the Ancestral Hall's powerful being was entrenched outside. Would the Crepe Myrtle sect leader still dare to protect Su Yin? Unless he was really crazy. The Crepe Myrtle sect leader put his hands behind his back, raised his head slightly, and said indifferently, "If he's dead, then he's dead. It's just a pity that I spent a lot of effort to help you gather the unparalleled battle physique. What's not yours will not be yours in the end." He was calm and unhurried. With a wave of his sleeve, Shui Guan's corpse disappeared from the world, turning into ashes. Dead. Our clan's champion is dead. Shueguan's people were paralyzed on the ground. Their clan's champion had fallen, and he was even killed by Su Yin in a direct confrontation. They still couldn't walk out of this shadow. One after another, they were trembling, unable to accept this matter in their hearts. However, Shueguan's death was a foregone conclusion. Many of the important figures thought about it, and they couldn't help but feel pity for Su Yin. No matter what, Yin Xian and Zhu Anbang had fallen, and now Shueguan had fallen as well. 3 peak experts of the younger generation had been killed by Su Yin. In the Divine Mountain Range, the deaths of these 3 peak experts were all related to Su Yin. One had to admit that Su Yin was truly heaven-defying and terrifying. This man was a peerless talent, and he would definitely be qualified to ascend to the top in the future. He might even have the potential to rush into the Supreme Realm. If he were to die like this, it would be too unfair to him. Are you the person behind Shueguan? Su Yan's expression kept changing. He thought that after killing Shueguan, he would have time to explore this world and find Great Dao Mountain, but the outcome was not like that. Sect Master Zi Wei had come. Sect Master Zi Wei's expression was cold. He looked around and finally said, "It is very difficult to trace the origin of this world. No wonder you can use the Origin Sutra to this extent. This corner of the once broken world is enough for you to benefit a lot." Su Yin clenched his fists and stared at Sect Master Zi Wei. He felt that this old monster knew too much. He already knew about the Origin Sutra that Su Yin cultivated. However, Sect Master Zi Wei had no intention of seizing the Origin Sutra. He muttered to himself, "It is a pity that this sutra once shocked the world and was known as the Mother Sutra of the universe, the strongest immortal sutra, but the environment has changed. The world here is the world of the past." Su Yin was shocked. The time had to be traced back to the Desolate Era, or even further, but who knew the things of that era? However, he seemed to understand a lot from Sect Master Zi Wei's words. Is there really no sutra that is truly invincible in the world? A sutra that transcends everything? Hierarch Zi Wei mumbled to himself. He was deep in thought. His rather illusory figure would occasionally burn with the light of the Great Path. It was very bright and terrifying. Billions of strands bloomed, as if they were going to construct a universe world. This was only an illusory figure of Sect Master Zi Wei, but it also contained immeasurable energy. The pressure was suffocating Su Yin. He was already heavily injured. Now, under the suppression of Sect Master Zi Wei's aura, blood was flowing out of the corner of his mouth. He staggered backward, and the wounds on his body began to worsen. I have to find a way to leave. Su Yin clenched his fists. He had to leave. He needed to recover from his injuries. His injuries could not be delayed for too long. Young friend, we meet again. Sect Master Zi Wei's eyes finally fell on Su Yin. He was very calm as he stood in the void. Su Yin could not help but admire such a person's temperament and elegance. Sect Master Zi Wei was the leader of a peak orthodoxy. He was someone who could make the universe tremble with a stomp of his foot. Although he looked like a man and a woman, he was the divine king. What do you want? Su Yin asked. He said, whether Shueguan is your heir or not. He provoked me time and time again. I've already killed him. Heir? Sect Master Zi Wei shook his head slightly and said indifferently, I wouldn't have found this place without you. Well, since you're the heir of the burial realm, I can let bygones be bygones. We're even now. What do you mean? Su Yin was shocked. Was there a relationship between Sect Master Zi Wei and the burial realm? He knew that Sect Master Zi Wei had always been looking for the Great Dao Mountain. He even wanted to make a deal with him to help him find the Great Dao Mountain. Sect Master Zi Wei's purple eyes were filled with a demonic light. He ignored Su Yin and began to investigate this area. He could feel the Great Dao Mountain's existence. It was hidden in this area. His heart was filled with excitement. He had waited for this day for too long. Today, his wish had finally come true. Sect Master Zi Wei, bring Su Yin out. A heavy voice suddenly transmitted. The ancestor of the ancestral hall, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke. A powerful being was entrenched outside the world. He sat cross-legged in the primal chaos. Even the slightest bit of his aura was enough to make all living things tremble. Sect Master Zi-Wei was the leader of a peak orthodoxy, but what kind of existence was a powerful being? He did not know Sect Master Zi-Wei's identity. His voice carried a domineering will. Su Yin is going to be in for a bad time. Everyone present felt their hair stand on end. The Almighty had already spoken, and sect leader Zi-Wei was doing him a favor at no extra cost. His choice was too easy. It was just a casual move for him. Su Yin could not escape from his grasp at all. But in the next moment, everyone present was stunned. Sect Master Zi-Wei did not seem to have heard the ancestor of the ancestral hall. He was still patrolling the other world, using his purple eye of the great Tao to see through the territory. Sect Master Zi-Wei. Zhu Yanbo was furious. His face darkened. The ancestral hall was the strongest faction in the universe. Even a powerful being had spoken. Moreover, Sect Master Zi-Wei had once protected Su Yin. Was he going to do it again? Zhu Yanbo was furious. He said, "Please bring Su Yin out." "What's going on? What is the sect master doing?" Meng Ying and the others had gloomy expressions. They thought very highly of Shueguan. They even knew that Shueguan had been cultivating under Sect Master Zi-Wei since he was a child. But now, Shueguan had been killed by Su Yin. Was Sect Master Zi-Wei not angry? Not angry? I think Sect Master Zi-Wei is afraid of the powerful beings of the Zong region. Someone said in a low voice, the Crepe Myrtle sect and the Zong region race don't have much of a conflict. The Crepe Myrtle sect has no reason to target Su Yin. Now that Su Yin's achievements are so terrifying, if his death is related to the Crepe Myrtle sect master, how can the Zong region race let it go? They all agreed with this speculation. There were too many things involved. Even the important figures of the Nine Yang sect and Divine Firmament sect nodded. If it were them, this decision would not be easy to carry out. After all, there was a powerful being in the Zong region. If they really forced the powerful being into a corner, the peak factions would suffer heavy losses. Swoosh! Under everyone's nervous gazes, Sect Master Zi-Wei disappeared. When he reappeared, he had already crossed to the end of the territory. It was as if he had arrived in a chaotic world where heaven and earth had merged into one. Boom! The moment he entered the chaotic world, all kinds of terrifying noises exploded. The blurry divine king's body exploded. He let out a loud roar in the chaotic world, as if he had encountered a terrifying attack. He unleashed his strongest power, causing the chaotic world to surge and loud noises to echo in the sky. Great Tao Mountain is inside. Su Yan's eyes were bright. He looked at the violently trembling, chaotic world. He could vaguely sense the presence of the celestial mountain. Su Yan even clenched his fist. He realized that the celestial jade in his spatial treasure was glowing, presenting a chaotic scene. This made him happy. The Great Tao Mountain was definitely inside. Sect Master Zi-Wei's goal was to enter the Great Tao Mountain. The Great Tao Mountain was the most precious celestial mountain among the 9 great celestial mountains. It was rumored that there was an endless source of the Great Tao hidden inside. It contained shocking inheritances. If one could obtain it, it would be an incomparably heaven-defying fortune. What happened to Sect Master? Could it be that he is in a bloody battle? The disciples of the Sect Master Zi-Wei were very anxious. The commotion inside was getting more and more terrifying. All kinds of divine kings' presence spread out, tearing apart the sky and sinking countless celestial bodies in the universe. The battle didn't last for long. The divine king's presence became more and more terrifying. Even if it was Sect Master Zi-Wei's incarnation, it was still terrifying and heaven-defying enough. In the end, under everyone's trembling gaze, Sect Master Zi-Wei erupted with his strongest power and disappeared without a trace. He seemed to have been obliterated, but also seemed to have entered some secret scripture. However, a huge crack was opened in the chaos. What is that? The onlookers turned pale with fright. They saw a corner of the collapsed chaos, revealing a corner of the celestial mountain. It was currently spewing out billions of strands of great Tao order, burning the chaos until it was resplendent and spiritual. The entire world was shaking along with it. The corner of the mountain was also endlessly majestic. It was like the carrier of the source of the great Tao, suffusing with a supreme aura. Yuanshi and the other two divine kings' expressions changed. They seemed to have thought of something, and their expressions changed. If the legendary celestial mountain was really inside, perhaps the almighty of the dark underworld race would come out of seclusion and kill their way to the divine spiritual mountain to seize the supreme treasure. Great Tao Celestial Mountain. In the chaos where the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor was, a terrifying aura suddenly surged out. Even the entire divine spiritual mountain was scarlet red like blood. The vast territory trembled as if it was going to melt into ashes. Millions of creatures were terrified and uneasy. Even the three divine king were suffocating, as if they were going to be refined along with it. That was a heavenly furnace awakening from its slumber, illuminating the sky. Chapter 590. Is the end of the universe coming? The divine mountain range was in chaos. Millions of creatures were panicking as they cried out in alarm. This place had already become a world as red as blood. Everywhere was filled with an oppressive aura. Even in a short period of time, the vast sky began to crack. This was a sign of being burned into a black hole. The experts were all trembling. They could feel their life force flowing out of their bodies uncontrollably. This was truly the end of the universe. They could even feel the source of the aura. Once it awakened, the entire divine mountain range would be destroyed, not to mention the divine spiritual mountain range. Once the supreme treasure was revealed, the entire bipolar star fell into a state of panic. Even a vast Z-Way segmentum was affected. In the territories of the various powerful races in the Z-Way segmentum, there were cultivators who turned pale and panicked. They felt that something big was about to happen. I seemed to feel the aura of a supreme being awakening. Who angered this supreme being to actually make such a big fuss in the Z-Way segmentum? I even feel the aura of a supreme treasure. It seems like the legendary heaven refining furnace is erupting. What is the ancestral hall doing? They're bringing out the heaven refining furnace in our Z-Way sect's territory. They are not taking us seriously. The Z-Way sect was completely shaken. Who didn't know the origin of the heaven refining furnace? It was a supreme treasure of legend. Those in the entire universe who could bring out a supreme treasure could be counted on one hand. But now it was different. A supreme being wielding a supreme treasure. Were they targeting the peak races? If it's really the great Tao Celestial Mountain, it's worth it to pay any price to seize it. Send a message to the family immediately. Let's go to the great Tao Celestial Mountain and see the supreme Upanishads inside. Some experts guess that the corner of the picture revealed by the collapse of the primal chaos might very well be the legendary great Tao Immortal Mountain. There were some rumors from long ago that there was a great Tao Immortal Mountain in the Divine Mountain Range. Now that it had surfaced, how could people not be excited? The various peak powers send out messages one after another. This kind of war was no longer something they could participate in. Even if the Divine King were to kill his way in, he would have to possess a Supreme Being's sacred weapon to have any hope of killing his way into the primal chaos. Our race's Supreme Being will definitely come out. The Dark Underworld race's experts were full of confidence. Their race had the immortal binding rope, so they were not afraid of the ancestral hall's ancestor. Buzz, the heaven refining furnace, appeared out of nowhere, starting to burn within the restricted area. The furnace's brilliance overflowed into the heavens, suffused with immortal splendor. The ancestral hall's ancient ancestor controlled the heaven refining furnace, urging the furnace to revive to the extreme. The world became indistinct, and countless celestial bodies were evaporated. The heavens were refined into a large black hole, and all types of order power surged out. This was a world-burning aura. Many creatures were scared out of their wits, crawling on the ground while trembling. Even great Tao realm experts only had the qualifications to tremble. This was the heaven refining furnace. Now that the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor had the heaven refining furnace, he launched a second attack on another world. Even if they were separated by the river of time, there were many mysterious forces that blocked the path to another world. However, once the heavenly refining cauldron struck, this long river of time and space trembled. All matter trembled as well. That terrifying world-burning power crushed everything. It was as if the passage between the two worlds was collapsing. This is the heavenly refining cauldron, a supreme treasure that can suppress the sacred weapons of almighties. The group of old deities trembled, the blood in their bodies boiling uncontrollably, flowing in reverse along with the heaven refining cauldron's power, flying towards it. It was rumored that the heaven refining cauldron could refine an entire star field. Once the divine king was trapped by the heaven refining cauldron, his chances of survival were extremely slim. It was almost impossible for him to survive, let alone the heaven refining cauldron controlled by a great Tao realm expert. The ancient ancestor is invincible, invincible, invincible. The people of the ancestral hall roared, shouting. They were crazy with excitement. This was their ancestral hall's ancient ancestor who controlled the heaven refining cauldron. He was going to refine the life matter that blocked his path, opening up a path to enter another world, separated by the long river of time and space. Su Yin felt like he was going to be burned to death. It was like a volcano surrounded by rocks that was about to collapse, drown him, and refine him into ashes. The silent territory was activated, the boundless territory with no end in sight. It was filled with a savage and grand atmosphere. The creatures standing here were as insignificant as ants. Now, this vast territory was revived. The fluctuations that emerged were like the cosmic flood in ancient history, but also like a collapsed dam. It suppressed the long river of time and space that was about to collapse in a spectacular manner. The vast land was revived, like a stone dragon that had slumbered for eternity. Overall, this world was powerful enough, possessing unique laws. The endless power of law and order interweaved and soared, starting to collide with the heaven refining cauldron that was smashing down. This was a great collision. If it wasn't because it was carried out in the long river of time and space, the consequences would be severe. Perhaps the entire divine spiritual mountain range would disintegrate, and the Tao grounds of the gods would become ruins, gradually disappearing in the long river of time. The space-time of the collision was the destruction of worlds. But the heaven refining cauldron was becoming more and more terrifying. It gushed out immortal splendor, flowing in reverse to refine the universe's laws and order. It smashed down with incomparable power, the vast territory rising and falling from the collision, shaking it. There were even some regions that collapsed, large pitch-black cracks appearing. Go, I want to enter the great Tao immortal mountain. Su Yin suddenly turned around and rushed toward the chaos. He wanted to barge into the great Tao immortal mountain. Perhaps he could be saved there. Su Yin, you can't escape. You won't be able to survive, even if you flee to the ends of the earth. Zhu Wenxiong let out a cruel voice. Even the Almighty had taken action, even taking out the heaven refining cauldron. They definitely wouldn't return empty-handed. The great Tao realm is only the beginning of the path of the strong. In the future, I will also become an almighty. I will also become the strongest in the universe. Su Yan's eyes were filled with conviction. His speed was very fast, and he was already close to the chaos. In order to prevent any accidents, Su Yin took out the bone realm of the Almighty. He wore a battle treasure robe and held an immortal iron staff. He didn't know what he would encounter on the road ahead. In any case, he had to barge into the great Tao immortal mountain. Only there would be hope of survival. Suppress. A dignified voice exploded, as if commanding the heavens. The Almighty's blood essence was endless, about to envelop the Z-Way segmentum. He wanted to become one with the heaven refining cauldron. He domineeringly charged into the long river of time and space, emitting a terrifying, killing intent. Everything was too frightening. The world had entered a doomsday state. All kinds of world-destroying light penetrated, overturning mountains, rivers, and earth. Many resource lands were disintegrated. The scene of dust and smoke filling the sky was accompanied by blood splattering everywhere. There were many cultivators who were too slow, who let out cries of despair. They were refined into ashes, and the number of people who died was difficult to count. Blood flowed for 100,000 li. Moreover, the long river of time and space had an aura of explosion. The small energy ripples emitted from it were difficult for the strong to withstand. The Forbidden Land was completely destroyed. Only the awakened heaven refining cauldron, a powerful almighty, emitted a glorious light amidst the destruction. It suppressed everything, and the vast territory sank along with it. He broke in. The heaven refining cauldron is too powerful. As expected of the ancestral hall's supreme treasure. When will our race be able to control such a treasure? Some deities sighed. This was a supreme treasure that stabilized the fate of their race. There were only a few in the entire universe, and they were too numerous to count. Su Yin is finished. He can't kill his way out alive. The fate that awaits him will definitely be miserable. What a pity. An outstanding talent of a generation fell under the hands of an almighty. Many people looked back as they fled. The ancestors of the ancestral hall had already crossed into that world to control the heaven refining cauldron. Although there were all kinds of mysterious energies in this vast territory, it was extremely difficult to stop the Almighty. Some people sighed. Even if a miracle appeared, what kind of miracle could stop the Almighty? The Almighty walked slowly, each step causing the world to tremble. The power of the endless territory collapsed one after another. The Almighty's aura was too terrifying. Soon, he would approach the primal chaos zone. Su Yin had already broken into the primal chaos. Many people watching were silent. They really didn't know what was in the primal chaos. Even if there was a great Tao immortal mountain, how could it be so easy to climb? The moment he entered the primal chaos, all kinds of auras assaulted his face. They were so heavy that Su Yin staggered and almost fell to the ground paralyzed. The primal chaos energy here was too thick and roiling like the sea. It was extremely repulsive to all life forms that barged in. A suppressive force would surge out and attack the experts who entered. Wang. Su Yin let out a low roar. The ancient mirror in his hand shone. After all, it was a supreme treasure refined from the chest bone of Almighty. As it tried its best to awaken, the bone realm began to burn. It was like a blurry shadow that looked down on the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Without a doubt, there was no need to suppress one's strength here. Su Yin had this thing. He felt that he should be able to break in. The prerequisite was that Sect Master Ziwei had broken in. Go! Su Yin frantically crossed. The Almighty's aura was already close. He could already feel the terror of the ancestral hall's ancestors. They were like burning immortal cauldrons, burning the primal chaos to the point of evaporating. In the process of crossing, he felt that he was getting closer and closer to the location of the Great Tao Immortal Mountain. However, in the process, the Almighty's bone realm was also suppressed by all kinds of primal chaos. Fortunately, the bone realm was strong enough and had the effect of a forbidden artifact. Su Yin awakened the almighty power contained within and opened a path in the primal chaos. Great Tao Immortal Mountain. Su Yan's eyes were filled with desire and excitement. He saw a huge shadow in the primal chaos. The Great Tao Immortal Mountain was covered by the primal chaos. However, this mountain was too majestic. It was like a supreme treasure mountain that pierced through the heavens. It was filled with indescribable divine might. It was like a supreme expert was cultivating here. I'm coming. Su Yin rushed over. The Almighty's bone realm could not hold on any longer. Cracks had already appeared, and the energy contained within was greatly reduced. Boom! Just as Su Yan was about to cross to the great Tao Immortal Mountain, the ancestral hall's ancestors had already escaped into the primal chaos. This primal chaos world went berserk and flowed against the flow to attack the ancestral hall's ancestors. Chapter 591. Su Yan's feet landed on the ground, standing at the peak of Great Tao Mountain. The majestic and magnificent mountain was like the peak of the world. When one stood on it, they would have the mentality of standing on the shoulders of giants, overlooking the world. The Great Tao Mountain flowed with brilliance. It seemed to have a life of its own. It was breathing, and when it breathed, the heavenly music of the Great Tao rumbled. It was extremely ancient and vast, like an immortal Tao scripture that came from a distant era. Moreover, Great Tao Mountain seethed with the light of the Great Tao Order, sacred and dignified. This mountain was too extraordinary, as if it didn't exist in this ancient history. It floated at the other end of the universe, sacred to the extreme, filled with boundless Great Tao aura. The light of the Great Tao filled the sky, converging at the peak. Su Yan stood at the peak of the mountain. His blood-stained flesh dyed with a layer of golden radiance. He looked like a Great Tao true immortal, filled with a sacred aura, but also like a Great Tao Lord, releasing auspicious clouds. The mountain shone. Su Yan stood at the peak. At this moment, he seemed to have merged with Great Tao Mountain, just like the experience of sitting cross-legged on the black Tao platform in the ancient Tao field. But this experience was a billion times more powerful than that. Su Yan was like a scholar standing on a giant, his entire being calm. He also seemed to not exist in this world, standing at the peak of all living things, free and unfettered, not bound by any energy or matter. He felt his entire person was very relaxed, free of the shackles, standing at the peak of Great Tao Mountain. During the process, Su Yan discovered that the world changed, becoming the Great Tao. One after another, each was like a Great Tao true dragon, roaming in the universe, passing through the primal chaos, gorgeous and varied. Billions of Tao sounds transmitted by his ears, grand and peerless. The Great Tao true dragons collided in the roaming, merging into one in the Tao. The billions of Great Tao true dragons were like rivers flowing into the sea, beginning to merge into one. A wisp of terrifying aura rose, enough to crush eternity, shatter the long river of history, penetrate the immortal dome. What kind of Tao technique was that? It was simply unimaginable. It gathered endless resources, opening up an immortal path to the heavens, rushing to the end of the immortal dome. This kind of Tao technique was even more majestic than the universe, as if it was truly supreme, suppressing the universe, invincible in the long river of time and space. Buzz. Su Yan's blood-stained body burned. He seemed to see himself turning into a seed of the Great Tao, cultivating all Taos, learning all arts, reaching the past and the present. In the end, it took root and sprouted, turning into an immortal tree of the Great Tao. The chanting of sutras was transmitted from his body. That was the energy that originated from the beginning sutra. It was ignited in his body, chanting the profound meaning of the beginning of all things. It caused various phenomena to appear within Su Yan's body. His bones were like mountains, his blood was like rivers, and his internal organs were like mountains. Starlight surged within them, and they evolved into yin and yang and gave birth to all things. Time seemed to fly fast. Sure, Yin felt like he was swimming in the river of time. It felt like thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, or even millions of years had passed. He felt like he was comprehending the Upanishad of life. Su Yan was like a small universe in its initial state. Through the baptism of time, it gradually emitted vitality and life. It was as if he could see a brand new version of himself in the future. He was like a star illuminating the starry sky. Buzz. Su Yan's body emitted the brilliance of the Great Tao. Under the baptism of the Great Tao Mountain, Su Yan saw the path of cultivation in the future. He was deeply enlightened, as if he had fallen into silence for a long time, unable to extricate himself. Boom! It was also at this moment that a loud explosion shook the heaven and earth. The momentum was so vast and magnificent that the magnificent Great Tao Mountain seemed to have been shaken. Su Yan, who was in the middle of the baptism, was also interrupted. Alas, he sighed in admiration. That was because the Great Tao Mountain was too terrifying. The ancestor of the Zhongyu clan was absolutely omnipotent. Su Yan had only learned 1/1000th of his Tao and techniques. One could imagine what kind of great existence that was, creating Tao and Dharma that people could not comprehend even in tens of thousands of lifetimes. If not for the Great Tao Mountain, Su Yan would not have been able to decipher the beginning sutra to this step. This required him to accumulate, cultivate, and comprehend in the future before he could gain anything. However, he was not in a hurry to go up the Great Tao Mountain. Su Yan felt that just standing here for a while would benefit him for the rest of his life. It really is the Great Tao Mountain. I didn't expect it to be here. The ancestor of the ancestral hall had already arrived. He looked at the Great Tao Mountain with the heavenly refining cauldron above his head. The Great Tao Mountain, one of the 9 legendary celestial mountains, appeared in front of him just like that. It would be a lie if the ancestor of the ancestral hall said that he wasn't moved. Boom! His palms suddenly reached out and grabbed a corner of the Great Tao Mountain. The power of a powerful existence was naturally terrifying. However, the Great Tao Mountain was so heavy that it seemed to be formed from billions of layers of the Great Tao. When the ancestor of the ancestral hall wanted to shake the Great Tao Mountain, the mountain shone on its own. It seemed to have turned into a person. His figure was enormous. Above his head was the firmament. The sun, moon, and stars seemed incomparably small. They revolved around his body like billions of stars. Moreover, as he recovered, the universe's sea of stars trembled. It couldn't stop this supreme fluctuation. It shook the ancestral hall ancestor until his palm went numb. His eyes were filled with shock. This Great Tao Mountain was too terrifying. It was like a supreme celestial mountain. The more it was like this, the more intense the ancestral hall ancestor's eyes became. His pores seeped out, making the sun and moon sink. It was as if this world would be overturned. An incomparable divine might erupted. Honglong, the heavenly refining cauldron shone. This cauldron rapidly enlarged. In the end, it turned into a cauldron that wanted to swallow the sea of stars. It descended from the sky and filled the entire Great Tao Mountain with a forbidden area. Suppress for me. The ancestral hall ancestor released a cold shout. His aura coordinated with the heavenly refining cauldron's power. Just thinking about it made one realize how terrifying this scene was. That terrifying airflow overturned. It was even more turbulent than a vast sea, even more magnificent than the Great Sea. The degree of its momentum was vast. It already swept up the entire divine mountain range. Everyone saw the heavenly refining cauldron sink. It wanted to swallow up Great Tao Mountain. This is Great Tao Mountain. If you rush up, you can pry into the supreme, profound mysteries. In the distant world, experts with terrifying auras rushed over one after another. They were all deities, and there were even more experts from peak races. They all brought out all types of supreme treasures. The 3 great divine kings all rushed over. Great Tao Mountain had already appeared. They could tell that it wasn't that easy to take it away. Soon, their race's great experts would rush over and personally take action to seize Great Tao Mountain. Honglong, the commotion was too terrifying. The heavenly refining cauldron and Great Tao Mountain finally collided. It was as if 2 universes collided. All types of Great Tao laws burned. The moment they clashed, the starry skies exploded. Terrifying beams of light tore apart the sea of stars, shattering countless great stars in the universe. What level of conquest is that? The entire Z-Way segmentum was shocked by this kind of vast and boundless energy fluctuation. That was a terrifying power. It spread layer by layer and was about to drown the Z-Way segmentum in the end. It could be said that 2 supreme treasures collided. It was like a true immortal weapon attacking, and it was like the weapon training pool of the celestial domain exploding. In short, the scene was monstrous. The deities who rushed over-trembled. They all felt like they were about to be swept into pieces by the explosive energy ripples. Especially Su Yan. He was now standing at the peak of Great Tao Mountain. He could feel the power of the heavenly refining cauldron. Once it struck down, he would collapse into ashes. But how could Great Tao Mountain be inferior to the heavenly refining cauldron? Su Yan's mood was very heavy. The location of Great Tao Mountain had already been exposed. Then it would attract the experts of various races to come and seize it. Perhaps Great Tao Mountain would really be taken away. Su Yan tried to open Great Tao Mountain with immortal jades. Perhaps he could unlock the energy of Great Tao Mountain. But he found that he failed. Great Tao Mountain seemed to have sealed itself. It had suppressed here for countless years. It was still shocking. It was as if it had turned into a huge shadow, overlooking the deities and the firmament above its head. Suppress. Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor roared. He was too terrifying. He truly emitted the killing intent of a powerful being. Because of this, 7 or 8 of the great characters who rushed towards Great Tao Mountain died on the spot. They were roared to death and exploded into a bloody mist. Retreat quickly. This scene made one's liver and guts split apart. It was enough to make one despair. The powerful being was too strong. When he went crazy, he could slaughter the deities. The powerful being's actions were naturally unrestrained. Together with the heavenly refining cauldron, he emitted the wrath of the heavens. He covered the sky and earth as he smashed down with his strongest power. There were no less than 10 attacks. All kinds of loud sounds were so vast that it resounded through the Z-Way segmentum. Kacha! The ear-piercing sound split open, making Su Yan's hair stand on end. He discovered that Great Tao Mountain was swaying. It seemed like something was being suppressed below. Now, because Great Tao Mountain was being attacked, the moment it began to shake, a huge black crack appeared in the vast territory. This wasn't just one crack, but more and more. The aura that seeped out from the cracks was extremely ancient. Everyone was stunned. Then, some people discovered that a gloomy and cold aura was spreading out from underground. Could it be? Su Yan thought of something. His face turned pale. As expected, when Great Tao Mountain swayed again, the huge cracks were endless. When the ancient aura seeped out, it was as if a huge black demonic abyss had awakened below. Endless demonic fog seeped out. No, the deities were scared half to death. There were powerhouses who had once roamed the primal chaos ruins who saw heavenly deities being swallowed and refined to death by the demonic fog with their own eyes. Demonic fog. The demonic fog is being suppressed below. They let out terrified voices because it was too dense and terrifying. This special world was drowned in the black demonic fog. Even the aura of the deities was covered. Some powerhouses whose chi and blood had dried up screamed. They didn't have much lifespan to begin with. Now, because of the invasion of the demonic fog, the life in their bodies was being stripped away. They looked very miserable and were about to be exhausted. Even the body of Great Tao Mountain had extremely gloomy demonic fog energy churning up. This caused Su Yan's expression to change. The demonic fog surged toward Great Tao Mountain and had already spread to the peak. Even the Ancestral Hall ancient ancestor circulated 120% of his power, using the heaven refining furnace to bombard Great Tao Mountain. No matter what, he wouldn't give up on Great Tao Mountain. He would also capture Su Yan and bring him away. Just as Su Yan was extremely nervous, a wisp of spiritual seeped over. In the void, there was an elegant and beautiful woman draped in silver robes. She stood tall in the void. Chapter 592. That's the devil mist. Naturally, this was something that happened in another world, separated by the long river of time and space. However, the spectating heroes could still see the black mist surging from the Earth's crust. It was as if a surging black mist had erupted from another space-time. The older generation cultivators turned pale with fright. This was the devil mist, sinister and terrifying. It specialized in absorbing the essence of a human body and depriving them of their lifespan. This kind of thing could only be found in the primal chaos ruins, but now a vast amount of devil mist had actually appeared in the divine spiritual mountains. This couldn't help but make one's heart tremble. Goosebumps rose all over their bodies. Moreover, could the deities withstand so much devil mist? Even in the primal chaos ruins, once the devil mist appeared, it would definitely become a life forbidden zone. This kind of peculiar energy substance could absorb the life essence of great characters. Once the amount of devil mist was too great, even the deities would find it difficult to escape misfortune. Look, many people cried out loudly. They could clearly see streak after streak of resplendent light rushing out from the depths of the devil mist. This was the release of a deity's aura. They were erupting within the devil mist's envelopment. No less than 10 streaks of light were burning like a group of divine furnaces. They wanted to evaporate the devil mist. This meant that they were powerful enough. However, there were cultivators with extremely long lifespans whose chi and blood had dried up. Under the devil mist corrosion, they let out miserable howls as the chi and blood within their bodies were completely drained. Black mist surged within their bodies. Punk! Even the deities had fallen. An old deity exploded and disintegrated. Even in death, he wasn't willing to let his body be completely corroded by the devil mist. He could only choose to self-destruct. This was quite tragic. After all, this was a deity. The scene was too savage. Even a deity had fallen. There were even people who saw 3 layers of heaven overflowing essence blood erupt. It was like a raging sea rising and falling, causing the world to rumble. This was the divine king's aura awakening. It was difficult for the devil mist to refine the divine king to death. Their combat strength was too great. Of course, even if the divine king managed to escape, his body would still suffer some damage to the divine king's body. Meanwhile, the most terrifying was definitely the ancestral hall's great expert. A bit of chi and blood seeped out of the ancestral hall's great ancestor's pores, evaporating a large amount of devil mist and directly creating a vacuum. His expression was gloomy and cold. 2 major events had happened in the last universe era. The Big Dipper had sunk and the Deity Mountain Range had collapsed. One was related to the most powerful ancient planet, and the other was related to the Taoist Temple of the Gods. However, the appearance of the devilish mist in both places made the ancient ancestor's face turn gloomy. Did the devilish mist only represent death and a forbidden zone? His eyes were fixed on the Great Tao Mountain, and even Su Yin, who was standing on the Great Tao Mountain, open. The ancestral ancestor no longer hesitated. His eyes emitted a bone-chilling light. He wanted to open the Grand Tao Mountain and take Su Yin away. Even if he had to give up on the mountain, he would still capture Su Yin. The heavenly refining cauldron continued its bombardment. In the process of bombardment, the Great Tao Mountain shook like a heavenly pillar that suppressed the world. Swish, swish. Without the suppression of the Great Tao Mountain, more and more demonic fog emerged from the ground. In fact, the entire Great Tao Mountain was filled with demonic fog. Encountering the demonic fog again, Su Yin wasn't anxious. After all, he had used the broken cauldron to absorb the demonic fog's energy. The broken cauldron was enough to neutralize the energy that even the gods were afraid of. However, the most important thing now was how to escape. The Great Tao Mountain town was very likely suppressing the demonic fog here. If he couldn't escape in time, there was no need for the Almighty to do anything. He wouldn't be able to hold on for too long. He would be exhausted. However, at this crucial moment, which made Su Yin feel helpless, Bamboo Moon's spiritual consciousness penetrated through and floated in the void. An elegant and noble figure appeared. Only Su Yan's spiritual consciousness could be seen. Bamboo Moon was elegant and noble. She was graceful and elegant. She looked like the most beautiful moon and stars in the sky. She was so beautiful that it was suffocating. Even in such a vicious world, Bamboo Moon exuded her unique charm. She was dazzling and made everything here pale in comparison. Bamboo Moon, Why are you here? I missed you to death. Suyin was pleasantly surprised. He was like an ant on a hot pan. After all, there was no way out. Bamboo Moon's appearance ignited hope in Suyan's heart. Suyan's words startled Bamboo Moon. Her eyes were flowing, her lips were bright red, and her appearance was elegant and moving. She was also the Lord of the Stars of Hokuto, and a peerless beauty who could shake the universe. Don't be afraid. Wait for me here. I'll take you away. Bamboo Moon didn't have time to say anything to Suyin. Her figure quickly dissipated. She was worried that the ancestors of the ancestral hall would notice her. After all, it was very difficult to escort Suyin out from under the watch of the Almighty. Moreover, her whereabouts couldn't be leaked. Suyin's body was glowing. The demonic fog had already drilled into his body and greedily absorbed the essence of his human blood. Do you really think I'm a human blood bun? Suyan's eyes were cold. The broken cauldron floated up and down in his body. It was glowing on its own and began to absorb the demonic fog. It had to be said that this object had a miraculous effect against the demonic mist. Right now, this mysterious space was becoming more and more dangerous because too much of the demonic mist was gushing out. It was exuberant to the extreme, and it was surging endlessly, as if a giant black wave was engulfing the heavens. A powerful deity cried out miserably. He couldn't hold on much longer because there was too much demonic fog. Moreover, it was extremely difficult to refine. They simply couldn't stay inside for too long. Some deities approached the deity king, hoping that the deity king's domain would be able to suppress this space. Some deities were furious. If the ancestors of the ancestral hall could collect the demonic fog with the heaven refining cauldron, their lives would be saved even if they couldn't refine it. However, the ancestors of the ancestral hall weren't in the mood to help them. The heaven refining cauldron was about to open the Great Tao Mountain. Not good, Run. What made people's hearts tremble was that the demonic fog actually drilled out. It penetrated the space-time river that had been shattered during the expedition just now and drilled out in wisps. At first, it was very thin, but soon the black fog surged like a burning demonic flame. It surged and whistled like a tidal wave. With a boom, a huge amount of demonic fog rushed out and engulfed the mountains and rivers. This sinner, some experts cursed inwardly. If it wasn't for the ancestors of the ancestral hall, the demonic fog wouldn't have leaked out. Once it leaked out, the situation would be terrible. Many cultivators would definitely die. Open for me. The aura of the mighty figure shook again. His aura was overbearing. He took out the heavenly refining cauldron like a peerless existence that could refine the world. This blow smashed down fiercely, hitting the power of the Great Path Mountain to resist the heavenly refining cauldron. Under the impact of the powerful expert's aura, Suyan's corporeal body felt like it was about to break apart. Puffed. He, who was already seriously injured, coughed out large mouthfuls of blood under the impact of the powerful expert's aura. His entire body was about to explode. Suyan let out a long howl. He saw the high and mighty ancestor of the ancestral hall looking down on all life. He directly stretched out a finger, wanting to suppress Suyin and then bring him away. Just as the power of the ancestral hall's ancestor was about to reach Suyin. What caused everyone's hair to stand on end was that within the surging black clouds, a resplendent light was suddenly emitted. A corner of the boundless demonic fog was evaporated. Bang! A terrifying holy might radiated in all directions. A weapon left its sheath. Endless chaotic light lingered around it, gushing out the light of the universe's order. Because it was wrapped in chaos and order, it was difficult for the people of the world to see the appearance of this supreme treasure. However, everyone could conclude that this was a powerful expert's holy weapon. It was powerful beyond compare. Who brought out a powerful expert's holy weapon? The experts of the great sex paled. Clans that could control a powerful expert's holy weapon were extremely rare. For a clan to be able to rush over so quickly, could it be an expert from the Crepe Myrtle sect? After all, the Crepe Myrtle sect master's incarnation had fled inside. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. After all, the time since the appearance of the Great Down Mountain was too short. It was difficult to transfer out a powerful expert's holy weapon in such a short time. The other party is deliberately hiding it. It must be to seize the Great Down Mountain. This is snatching food from the tiger's mouth. There were many bold experts watching the battle from afar. When they saw the powerful expert's holy weapon leave its sheath, it instantly attacked. The space collapsed, and the destructive power was terrifying. In an instant, it collided with the Ancestral Hall's ancestor. And the Ancestral Hall's ancestor's expression suddenly sank. He used the heaven refining furnace to suppress the crack leading to the Great Down Mountain. His other hand suddenly stretched out and attacked the incoming powerful expert's holy weapon. Although a powerful expert's holy weapon was powerful, it was still refined by a powerful expert. It was extremely difficult to use it to shake a powerful expert. In the next moment, a resplendent radiance erupted like a sword radiance that fell from outer space. This was also the opening of a great expert's saint weapon. It was powerful to the extreme and sharp to the point it could even slice apart outer space. It was filled with extremely terrifying power. Bamboo Moon used the holy weapon of order to conceal her body. She held the holy sword and attacked. This sword embryo emitted a baleful aura that could slaughter all life. The spectators were stunned. Two great powers had appeared. Kill! The old Star Lord and Bamboo Moon revived once again. They erupted with the origin power of a powerful expert's holy weapon, illuminating the Devil Fog world. They erupted with 120% of their strength. In the face of such a murderous attack, the Ancestral Hall's ancestor's expression was gloomy. He raised his fist and smashed down. He was extremely powerful. He wanted to use a single arm to resist two powerful experts' holy weapons. However, just as the Ancestral Hall's ancestor was resisting, Su Yin suddenly leapt out and left the world of the Great Down Mountain. Duo! The Ancestral Hall's ancestor roared angrily. He spat out a murderous sound, crushing layers of space. Su Yin, who was using spatial compression, was about to face a calamity. However, Bamboo Moon's power rushed over like lightning. She used the power of the Big Dipper scripture to distort space and drag Su Yin over. At the same time, she brandished her holy sword to block the ancient ancestor's power. Bastard! The powerful expert was truly furious. His figure was incomparably terrifying. When he wasn't suppressing the Great Down Mountain, his aura became several times more ferocious and tore apart the sea of stars. What? That old thing has gone mad. He doesn't want the Great Down Mountain anymore. The old Star Lord felt a headache. Originally, they were prepared to take action while the Ancestral Hall's ancestor was suppressing the Great Down Mountain. But now things had exceeded their expectations. Chapter 593. Boom! The entire world trembled as the aura of a supreme expert rushed out. It was like a sea of blood engulfing the sky. His might was too frightening. The light of order suffused the air and evaporated countless devilish mists. It was as if a giant dragon was awakening. His aura filled the entire world. The ocean-like Grandau order also recovered. At this moment, the Ancestral Hall ancient ancestor could be said to be the ruler of this world. His majesty was boundless. A terrifying aura was transmitted over. The killing intent of the Almighty was so strong that Zhu Yu and the Old Star Lord used their almighty saint weapons to block it, but they were still shaken by the killing intent of the Almighty. Zhu Yu, in particular, was bleeding from the corner of her mouth. After all, she wasn't the Divine King. Although she had a supreme expert's weapon, her combat strength was far inferior to the Divine King's. Not good. You guys leave quickly. The Old Star Lord roared. The Ancestral Hall ancient ancestor had truly gone mad. What they didn't expect was that Su Yin was more important than the Grandau Mountain. That was one of the 9 great immortal mountains, a supreme treasure. The Ancestral Hall ancient ancestor only used the heaven refining cauldron to suppress the crack on the Grandau Mountain. His main body temporarily gave up on suppressing the mountain. This was enough to make people tremble. Was Su Yan's identity special enough to make the ancestral hall ancient ancestor give up on the Grand Dao Mountain? Even though they knew Su Yan's combat strength was terrifying and peerless, a supreme expert was still a supreme expert. Over the years, there were extremely outstanding Yingjie and even supreme experts of the younger generation. Only a small number of them could step into the supreme expert realm. Luck and fortune alone were far from enough to cultivate to the supreme expert realm. The old Star Lord had been trapped in the Divine King's realm for thousands of years. How could he not know the uniqueness of this realm and how difficult it was to break through? A supreme expert wouldn't pay too much attention to Su Yan unless Su Yan really had a special identity or possessed a special treasure. But it was too late to say anything now. The Supreme Elder's body was suffused with the light of the Great Tao, blotting out the skies. In this demonic fog space, he was about to open up his own battlefield. During this process, the interior of the space became even more dangerous. Surging demonic mist roared, engulfing everything, wishing to break open the seal of the ancestral palace's ancient ancestor. This demonic mist was extremely special and sinister. Even the power of a great expert would find it difficult to refine much of it. None of you can leave. Ancestral Palace's ancient ancestor coldly spoke. His divine might was inviolable, as if he was the supreme deity of this place. Millions and millions of strands of great Tao light filled the entire space, divine might surging mightily. In this battle, the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor didn't only want to capture Su Yan, he also wanted to obtain the two supreme weapons. Once these two supreme treasures were in the Ancestral Hall's hands, it would be a huge matter. Buzz, Zhu Yu and the old Star-Lord's almighty holy weapons were trembling. Almighty holy weapons were indeed powerful and contained the power of the universe's order. But against a living almighty, two almighty holy weapons alone were hardly enough to resist a living almighty. Bamboo Moon, take him and leave quickly. Leave this place to me. It's been many years since I've erupted with the Divine King's peak strength. The old Star Lord's old body ignited the flames of life. He was originally a Divine King. Although his lifespan had reached its end and his body's vitality had dried up, the old Star Lord's strength couldn't be underestimated. He went all out, and the Divine King's strength awakened within his body. Boom! The supreme weapon he had summoned awakened its greatest strength. It burned with monstrous primal chaos like a majestic lion erupting. Old Senior, Su Yan's body and soul were about to be destroyed in the face of such a powerful impact. He said telepathically, "The Supreme Elder is targeting me. I'm not Hokuto's disciple at all. How can I let you pay such a great price? Senior, you don't have to do this." "Haha, it's worth it," the old Star Lord replied. "I don't have much time left. I think it's worth it to die a few days earlier to protect you. If I really die, I'll disappear completely. Remember not to leak any information about me." Senior, Su Yan turned pale with fright. He would rather die than let the Ancestral Hall know that it was Hokuto who had done this. The old Star Lord had already rushed forward and erupted with his most terrifying strength. He used the supreme weapon to resist the Supreme's power. He hoped that he could hold on for a few breaths, giving Bamboo Moon enough time to retreat. Bamboo Moon also knew that once the Supreme Elder gave up on the Great Tao Mountain, none of them would survive if they didn't leave. Scram! When she saw the three godly monarchs come forward to block her, Zhu Yu's eyes flashed with a hint of bloodlust. A mighty figure's sacred weapon did not pose much of a threat to mighty figures. But if a godly monarch were to approach, they might very well be blasted to death. Although Zhu Yu was not a godly monarch, she cultivated in the Big Dipper scripture. The stunning Zhu Yu wielded a mighty figure's sacred sword. When the boundless sword beams struck out, it was like a storm formed by the combination of billions of sword beams. It caused the three godly monarchs' expressions to change. "You can't leave. Su Yan must stay," Zhu Yongbui said coldly and angrily. "If you know what's good for you, scram and leave Su Yan behind. Your clans won't be implicated. Kill! Bamboo Moon shouted as she brandished the supreme divine weapon. The moment the sword light burst out, it formed a spectacular scene. The outer space was like dumplings being dropped into a pot as countless stars were cut down. The three divine kings' domains were riddled with holes. This supreme divine weapon was simply too terrifying. It could sweep away thousands of soldiers with unstoppable momentum. Ah, run! A loud roar erupted. The divine king's body was already burning. The dried-up essence blood within his body ignited the flames of war and recovered his peak strength. The divine king was fighting with his life on the line. It was as if he had returned to his youth. He walked step by step toward his youth, as if he had turned into a white-robed man with sharp brows and sharp eyes. He was full of vigor and vitality as his roar shook the mountains and rivers. He wanted to fight a glorious battle and see the gap between him and the supreme elder. Ant, the ancestor of the ancestral hall, let out a cruel voice. His aura shook heaven and earth, boundless and boundless. The entire world seemed to be condensed in his eyes and filled with the power of supreme being. The old cosmic lord's body seemed to be on the verge of exploding. Can you survive? Suyan's soul was trembling as he looked at the old Star Lord whom he didn't know. The old Star Lord didn't look old at all. Instead, he looked heroic like a young man, emitting an unusually terrifying aura. However, it was useless. It was impossible to stop the ancient ancestor of the ancestral hall. Boom! Rumble! A palm descended from the starry sky outside the starry sky. The purple palm rapidly enlarged until it was like a giant hand holding up the sky. It was suffused with dazzling purple radiance and full of terrifying power. It struck down just like that and ruthlessly slapped toward the ancestral hall's ancestor's back. This wasn't the power of a supreme being, but the attacker had borrowed the power of a supreme being's saint weapon to increase his own strength. That was why it was so terrifying and surging. You're all tired of living. The ancestral hall's ancestor was truly furious. 3 experts jumped out one after another, each with a supreme being's saint weapon. Each of them couldn't even last 3 rounds against him, but they still managed to kill their way out. The old cosmic lord was surprised. He didn't know who had helped him. Hurry up and leave. Don't come back. A cold voice came and entered the old cosmic lord's heart. His hair was disheveled, but his heart was filled with excitement like an old child. Kill! The old cosmic lord roared fiercely. He was even more powerful than before. He seemed to have become a few years younger. He had the rebellious temperament of a young man, unwilling to admit defeat. He was like a young overlord who could swallow the heavens. Old thing, do you want to die here? The attacker's voice was hurried. She used all of her power to resist the ancestral hall's ancestor, but she knew that she couldn't hold on for long. I want to kill you. I want to fight side by side with you. I want to challenge the supreme beings and break through the barriers. I want to become a supreme being. The old cosmic lord released his spiritual will. Now, he was expressing his determination. I'm only taking action for the sake of my disciple. Do you want Hokuto to be buried with you? Get lost. In a mysterious space where all kinds of cosmic laws merged, the interior seemed to be splitting the heaven and earth apart. This was a relatively terrifying and heaven-defying supreme treasure. A purple-clothed woman stood within. The passage of time had left deep traces on her body. Her hair was snow-white, and she was filled with a gloomy aura. However, her appearance was still the same as when she was young. Although there were loose strands of hair covering her face, the slightly exposed cheeks were still quite stunning. Isiyin was also standing in this space. She gazed at the old cosmic lord in a daze. Her master's appearance wasn't old at all. Was this a face-preserving pill? I heard a man once found a face-preserving pill for my master. Could it be that this person is him? Isiyin muttered in her heart. She was somewhat absent-minded as she recalled the changes in the snowy mountains. She was so old that she didn't dare meet Su Yin until the moment of her death. The Crepe Myrtle sect master and Hokuto's cosmic lord were influential figures from 10,000 years ago. It's Little Muddle. It's definitely him. This child is still alive. I heard he killed the son of the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor. How satisfying. Ha ha ha. In the divine spiritual mountain range, some regions were constantly emitting terrifying auras. It was as if great vicious beasts were charging out one after another. The nearby cultivators were all terrified. It was as if they could feel a group of terrifying bosses reviving in the dark. They couldn't bear it, and felt as if their bodies were about to split apart. It was as if a group of savage dragons had charged in and were traversing in the dark. Some clan lords of powerful races were trembling in fear. Why did they feel that a group of old monsters were killing their way over? Their auras were too astonishing. They were squatting in all directions of the Great Tao Mountain. Could it be that they were also preparing to fight for the Great Tao Mountain? It seems we don't need to take action. Who would have thought someone would help us and mobilize 3 supreme saint weapons? Wait for them to leave before starting the battle. No, I think we should head to the Ancestral Hall's resource lands and sweep away some resources and treasures for Little Muddle to cultivate. Yes, let's head straight to the Primal Chaos ruins and suppress the Ancestral Hall's Primal Chaos ancient mines. Let's see if we can shake out some Primal Chaos treasures that can nourish the body. Don't be in such a hurry. Watch over the Great Tao Mountain for me. We'll wait and see. Chapter 594. Suyan's mind was a bit blurry. He was too tired. The continuous battles had consumed too much of his energy, and his injuries were serious. He had even been targeted by a great power. The great power's spiritual will had pressured Suyan so much that he couldn't breathe. How could a normal person's spiritual will withstand it so easily? If Suyan hadn't been holding on, he would have collapsed long ago. Now, he knew that he was far away from the battlefield. Even the Old Star Lord had escaped unscathed. He heaved a sigh of relief, but he was even more dispirited. Suyan looked at Juyu. He looked at this breathtakingly beautiful woman. She was graceful and elegant, noble and generous. Her charm was peerless. Her delicate body emitted a gentle aura, making Suyan feel very comfortable. Sensing Suyan's gaze, Bamboo Moon's starry eyes fell on Suyan. She noticed his serious injuries, and her expression changed slightly. She asked, "How are you feeling now?" "I'm fine," Suyan replied with a smile. There were many dried bloodstains on his face and body. His whole body emitted a tragic aura. Bamboo Moon clenched her jade-like hands. How could she not know about the series of events that had happened in the Divine Mountain Range during this time? Suyan had single-handedly defeated 3 of the 5 young giants of the Divine Mountain Range. There was even a great power son and a double supreme body Shui Guan. Bamboo Moon naturally knew Shui Guan very well. Suyan had killed Shui Guan, which could be considered to have helped Bamboo Moon accomplish something big. If Shui Guan had returned to the Big Dipper, then he would have returned to the Big Dipper. If he had returned to the Big Dipper, then he would definitely have been recognized by the Big Dipper's origin Great Tao. This was an extremely dangerous situation. The Big Dipper sect had once been one of the most powerful clans in the world, and they had long been coveted by the other major powers. All of them wanted to seize their resources. If Shui Guan were to obtain the Big Dipper sovereign as well, it would bring about a calamity to the Big Dipper starfield. Rest if you're tired. A gentle smile appeared on Juyu's face like a silver crescent moon. A silver jar also appeared in her sleeve. She opened it and poured out streaks of silver light. This was a very special healing substance. When it entered his body, it felt cool and refreshing. The intense pain was alleviated. The silver substance even contained the power of the Great Path. This was definitely a sacred healing medicine. It had an extremely strong healing effect on Suyan's injuries. Juyu tilted her head slightly and recalled some of her experiences on Earth. In that bronze hall, Suyan had once cleaned her wounds. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, revealing an enchanting smile. Her eyes swirled, and her beauty caused the world to lose its luster. Buzz! Suddenly, they left the Divinity Mountain Range. The outside of the Divinity Mountain Range was in chaos. The appearance of the devilish mist made the experts of the various powers flee in panic. They were truly afraid of dying inside. This also caused the seals set up by the ancestral hall to be blasted open. Star-Lord, a gigantic battleship fused with space and time. The moment Zhuyu crossed over, she immediately entered the battleship. Hokuto's experts were anxiously waiting in the battleship. They heaved a sigh of relief after seeing the Star-Lord return safely. How could it not be a threat? The old Star-Lord had also returned. He had a lot on his mind. On the way back, he felt a group of restless fellows staring at him. However, they didn't emit any killing intent. Otherwise, the old Star-Lord felt that it would be impossible to retreat. Their auras were so terrifying that the old Star-Lord's heart palpitated. He couldn't help but wonder if they were experts from the realm of burial. It should be. If the realm of burial knows that Su Yin is in danger, it's not surprising for experts to come. The old Star-Lord's injuries were very serious. Although the old leader of Crepe Myrtle acted at the critical moment to help him block the ancestor of Ancestral Hall, the old Star-Lord's injuries were also very serious. His old body had many cracks. Old Star-Lord. The experts in the battleship were envious. The old Star-Lord was already very old. Now that he had suffered such injuries, his lifespan would be greatly reduced. After all, with the old Star-Lord's cultivation as the Divine King, ordinary healing panaceas wouldn't be of much use to him. If the old Star-Lord of the Big Dipper bloodline fell, it would be too dangerous for Hokuto. Without the Divine King, it would undoubtedly be less of a deterrent. Of course, Hokuto couldn't have only one Divine King. Perhaps there were other Divine Kings. However, after a long time, these Divine Kings had sealed their essence and lived until now. They didn't have much combat power left. Senior, I have some treasures here that can heal you. Su Yin got up and took out 5 true dragon leaves. The leaves of the 10,000 dragons tree were sacred items for healing. They were quite useful even for the Divine King. This is the old Star-Lord's pupil shrank. Looking at the 5 true dragon leaves, he let out an old laugh. Very good treasures. These things aren't very useful to me. Su Yin, take them and heal your injuries. Old Senior, don't refuse. Even if they can't heal your injuries, they can still extend your lifespan. Su Yin's face was serious. This time, the old Star-Lord had helped him with his life. Su Yin should repay him by giving the 5 true dragon leaves to him. Don't be so polite with him. He must have gained a lot in the Divine Mountain Range, Bamboo Moon said with a smile. These should be the leaves of the legendary 10,000 dragons tree. The old Star-Lord muttered in his heart. Seeing Su Yan's expression, he could only accept them helplessly. I really don't know who the expert who attacked just now is. Zhuyu asked curiously. Is it an expert from our sect? Or is there other external help? The old Star-Lord smiled and said, leave immediately. This place will soon become a troublesome place. He felt that if there were really experts from the burial realm gathering, it would definitely cause a storm. Since the Almighty had taken action against Su Yin, the burial realm wouldn't just sit there and do nothing. They would definitely attack the Ancestral Hall and the Dark Underworld race with lightning speed. You guys go first. I'll take care of the aftermath. Bamboo Moon didn't leave. There were still many disciples in the Divine Mountain Range that hadn't left. She planned to stay with the Almighty's sacred weapon. As long as the Almighty didn't attack her, Bamboo Moon would be safe. Star-Lord, you must be careful. The experts inside the battleship worked together to awaken the astral battleship hidden in the space-time. This ancient and heavy battleship was like a silver beast. Once it was awakened, its aura filled the air. More than 10,000 ancient arrays engraved inside were ignited. This was a battleship capable of traversing star domains. Its value was comparable to the Divine King's weapon. Even the Divine King's weapon might not necessarily be exchanged for it. The moment the battleship crossed, its huge body rumbled. This was the impact of endless space-time energy, causing the battleship to flicker. But in the end, it endured and crossed an entire star domain. It even continued to cross. Time to go. I want to go home. The moment Su Yan's spirit fell into darkness, he fell into a deep sleep. He wanted to go home. Earth's coordinates were in danger of being exposed. He had to return as soon as possible to protect his race. Not long after the battleship left, the situation in the Divine Mountain Range became increasingly chaotic. The demonic mist flowed out uncontrollably and spread across the mountains and the earth at an extremely fast speed. It was as if a storm was approaching. The dark clouds pressed down and filled the air with a gloomy aura. Time seemed to have returned to the previous epoch. The Divine Mountain Range was facing a calamity. Countless creatures were screaming miserably. This was hell on earth. Those who had seen the demonic mist knew very well that once this energy substance wrapped around the body, the essence of human blood would be sucked clean. The whole world was filled with human blood. One could imagine how dangerous it was. There were even experts who came frequently and took out their killing weapons to fight for the Great Dow Mountain. The billowing storm swept across the universe, affecting hundreds and even thousands of star domains in the surroundings. What exactly happened? Why are there so many big shots passing through? Many cultivators were terrified. In the outer space, terrifying auras were often emitted and shook 10,000 stars. The starry sky was restless. There were constantly super battleships crossing the sky. Even the ancient gods were crossing the starry sky. They even sensed the divine king's aura crossing the star domain. The Great Dow Mountain had surfaced. This matter was too big. It alarmed all the peak races. Forces like the Nine-Yang sect sent a large number of troops to the Z-Way segmentum. There were even more experts from the Ancestral Hall and the Dark Underworld race. They're all heading for the Divine Mountain Range. It's said that Zhu Onbong died in battle. Even the powerful ones are here. Su Yin, the rising star of the Burial Region race, is probably dead by now. Even the powerful ones are making a move. I can't imagine that the Burial Region race could produce such a fierce person. The peak races are like a hornet's nest. They can't be provoked. Su Yin has kicked an iron plate. The storm this matter stirred up was like a flood passing through. Even the clan leaders of many powerful races were shocked. The bipolar star was no longer something they could participate in. It would soon become a battlefield for the peak races. Boom! A loud explosion resounded through the starry sky. Under everyone's shocked gazes, a pure white and translucent bone club drilled out of the star system. It was magnificent and peerless. It overturned a star battleship in an instant. Look, the surrounding star domains were shocked. They saw a terrifying leader drilled out. He wore beast-skin clothes and had a rough appearance. He raised his large foot and stomped on the shattered battleship. The people of the Ancestral Hall inside the battleship roared in anger. They wanted to stop the expert who attacked them, but it was useless. He was savage beyond belief. His pores emitted an ominous light that was like thousands of lightning bolts shooting out, illuminating the starry sky. Bullying my clan's younger generation, I'll kick your yoke out. This expert whose chi and blood were like an ocean roared angrily, making this part of the starry sky sink. No one could escape. He released a terrifying, vicious aura, unleashing a great slaughter here. He wanted to slaughter the soldiers on the battleships. Kill them all. A short expert drilled out from another part of the starry sky. However, when he erupted with power, he was like an old divine phoenix. Endless divine radiance shot out in all directions. He raised his large hand and smashed toward the battleship. Who are you? You dare target the Ancestral Hall's battleship? The experts on the battleship were alarmed. The battleship they carried was like a toy, trembling uncontrollably in his palm. Then, strand after strand of essence blood drilled into the battleship. Bloody light splashed out from the inside of the battleship. These dogs are bullying my clan. Kill them for me. Chapter 595. Who are they? With such tyrannical methods, they wiped out so many soldiers from the Burial Realm and Dark Underworld race. Aren't they afraid of provoking a disaster? God knows. They're too domineering. They overturned the Ancestral Hall's army right away. Normally, who would dare provoke them when they mentioned the Ancestral Hall's name? However, things are different now. First, Su Yin killed Zhu Yong and overturned a powerful being's Dao right. Then, he provoked a great storm in the Divine Mountain Range. Now, however, This group of old experts stood out and used such a tyrannical attitude to crush their soldiers. Normally, it was the ancestral hall's experts who bullied the various races' juniors. The major characters of the various races didn't dare to stand up for their juniors. Now, someone stood out to bully their juniors. This was the complete opposite. This was equivalent to provoking the entire ancestral hall and the dark underworld race. The consequences were severe. After all, the prestige of the peak races couldn't be violated. Who dared to do this over the years? God knows. They're standing up for someone. Who are they standing up for? The nearby experts were stunned. This group of people was too ferocious. They destroyed a dozen battleships in such a barbaric manner. Moreover, they weren't satisfied. They wanted to pursue the past and carve out a bloody path in the starry sky. They wanted to tell the world that the burial realm didn't fear any power. They wouldn't just talk, they would take action to respond to the two large clans. Only after these 10 or so death gods with terrifying auras left did this part of the starry sky stop trembling. All types of damaged battleships were dyed in blood as they floated about in the starry sky. This matter is serious. They seem to be chasing inwards, continue to destroy their battleships. This place erupted into an uproar. They personally saw more than 10 experts with terrifying auras cross over, the essence blood they spat out making the boundless starry skies tremble. Many stars began to tremble, proving that their cultivations were too tyrannical. They were definitely a group of terrifying leaders. Now, all the major powers' eyes were focused on the divine mountain range. They were all aiming for the Great Tao Mountain. They wanted to seize this supreme, immortal mountain. Suyin had already left the battlefield. The Starry Sky battleship carried them across one large starfield after another. After dozens of jumps, the ship's speed gradually slowed down. It's about time. Don't keep going. We're wasting too many spatial crystals. This place is already very safe, far away from the battlefield. No matter how big the situation is, it won't affect this area in a short period of time. I don't know when the Master of the Stars will return. We in Hokuto have a second battleship docked in the outer regions of the bipolar star. I hope that all the disciples can return safely. A group of old experts were discussing this. Although they were worried, they all had smiles on their faces. Firstly, Hokuto had been developing very rapidly during these years, and the number of experts from the younger generation who had broken through to the Great Tao realm was increasing day by day. When they looked at the sleeping Su Yin, the smiles on their faces became even brighter. Su Yin, who had reached the invincible domain in the Immortal Mountain Range and killed 3 young tycoons, had alarmed even the Almighties and wanted to kill him. Now, he had safely retreated. No one knew that it was Hokuto who had done it. They felt that Su Yin had been in seclusion for more than 10 years, so he would definitely be able to ascend to the realm of gods. Su Yin slept for 3 days and 3 nights before he slowly woke up. Although his injuries were serious, his mental state was a lot better. Previously, Su Yin had also eaten some good things. Therefore, after he woke up, his injuries were a little better, and there was also energy seething in his body. The moment he opened his eyes, he saw 3 elders. Su Yin stood up and greeted them. Su Yin, there's no need to be so courteous. A middle-aged woman smiled and said, "Let me introduce you. This is one of Hokuto's grand elders. He is also one of the disciples of the old Master of the Stars. Greetings, Grand Elder." Su Yin looked toward an old man in green clothes. This was a deity who was very old. After all, the old Master of the Stars had lived for 10,000 years, and Tao Xingyang's lifespan was also over 6,000 years old. Su Yin, there's no need to be so courteous. Tao Xingyang's face also surged with a smile. His eyes were filled with chaotic airflow as he said, "I came out of seclusion with Master. I really didn't expect that the Big Dipper bloodline would produce such an outstanding disciple. Although you are a member of the burial realm, since you have cultivated the Big Dipper fist, you are one of Hokuto's people." Tao Xingyang was a deity and one of the old Master of the Stars' outstanding disciples. Su Yin even knew that the old Master of the Stars had 10 disciples, and a few of them were from other races. It was said that their achievements were also outstanding. Although Master has 10 disciples, 4 of them died in battle. Tao Xingyang sighed and said, 2 of them have exhausted their lifespan, so there are only 4 left. However, this was already extremely terrifying. It meant that the old Master of the Stars had nurtured 4 deities. Suyin, you don't know. In fact, most of the deities of the major forces are gathered in the Chaos Ruins. Tao Xingyang chuckled and said, our Hokuto also has many experts in the Chaos Ruins. They have even stayed for over 1,000 years and haven't returned. I guess they have encountered some opportunities. Over 1,000 years. Su Yin was speechless. That's right. Tao Xingyang nodded and said, in the future, when you have the strength, you can also go and explore. Who knows, you might encounter some great opportunities. The Chaos Ruins is the true paradise for adventurers. Of course, it is very dangerous. Back then, Master had stayed in the Chaos Ruins for more than 300 years. That was also the era when he became the Divine King. Su Yin was deeply shocked. The Chaos Ruins were filled with hidden dragons and crouching tigers. It was rare for the Divine King to meet him outside. However, there were some who frequently appeared in the Chaos Ruins and roamed the vast and boundless territory. Tao Zhengyang didn't introduce the Chaos Ruins to Su Yin. That place was filled with a fatal attraction to cultivators. It was not a place that the current Su Yin could explore. Even deities had to be careful. There were many invincible creatures in the Chaos Ruins, and they were extremely powerful. You can rest at ease and recuperate. You will be able to return to Hokuto very soon. Su Yin nodded. They had arranged a secret room for Su Yin. The secret room was very unique and was filled with the essence of the starry sky. Su Yin carefully inspected the secret room and discovered that there were 3 kinds of energy-absorbing formations in this secret room. This was absorbing energy from the universe. He was very shocked. The value of this battleship was too high. It could definitely drift in the universe for a long time, unless the formations were damaged or it encountered a dangerous area. Recuperate first. Su Yin sat cross-legged in the quiet room. He had a limit to all kinds of treasures on him. He didn't lack resources at all. With the mastery of the heaven patching technique, the speed of recuperation was very fast. He had recovered quite a bit after 1 day and 1 night. Until the second night, all the fatal wounds on his body had been repaired. Su Yin wasn't in a hurry to recuperate after his injuries were stabilized. I wonder who will seize the Great Dao Mountain. Su Yin secretly said in his heart. He stood on the Great Dao Mountain for a while and received its help. His harvest was great. He felt that his foundation had been perfected and his understanding of the beginning sutra was already very deep. He was preparing to confirm his Dao and break through. Perhaps he could really cross over. Can Bao Kai and the others safely retreat? Su Yin sighed in his heart. He had experienced too many things during this period of time. The demon territory was targeting Bao Kai. The banners of demons was a matter of great importance. The demon territory would definitely not let it go. Did sect leader Ziwei really escape into the Great Dao Mountain? Then, Su Yin thought of this again. His eyes flashed with coldness. He felt that sect leader Ziwei was very likely to have entered. Back then, he could easily mention the Great Dao Mountain, which meant that this person had a very deep understanding of the Great Dao Mountain. He thought of sect leader Ziwei. Su Yin couldn't help but think of Shueguan. His heart surged with passion. Shueguan's spatial treasure was in his hands. He really didn't know what good things were in this spatial treasure. He took out a heavy treasure. He estimated that there were countless treasures hidden in this treasure. Otherwise, the spatial treasure wouldn't be so heavy. There must be some special secret treasures inside. I hope that Shueguan can give me some surprises. I wonder if the cultivation method of the initial fist is inside. Su Yan's eyes lit up. He saw through the method to open the spatial ring and used his primordial spirit to forcefully open it. Indeed, the world inside this spatial ring was very big. It was big enough to hold a huge mountain. He was shocked and moved. There were all kinds of treasures piled up inside. While he was patrolling, he discovered that many resources were produced in the divine spiritual mountain range. Suyan's face surged with a smile. Previously, he had also swept away a large amount of resources. Those were the harvest of the peak tribes for a long time. Large amounts of treasures were taken out by Su Yan and placed into all kinds of spatial treasures. His harvest was too great. There were even many limited resources. There was a lot of heaven and earth source plasma and a portion of the saintly heaven and earth source plasma. Chaos War Chariot. Su Yan laughed. He found Shueguan's ride back then. There was no need to say more about the strength of this Chaos War Chariot. It was truly rare. Star-striking whip. Su Yan's eyes surged with a smile. Back then, he was also very covetous of this treasure. Oh no, this star-striking whip was a top-notch Dao weapon. He had to reforge it in order to dig out the potential of the star-striking whip. There were too many treasures. Su Yan couldn't even count them all. When he took out the yin-yang sword embryo, he laughed loudly. This sword embryo was extremely valuable. It contained the power of yin and yang. There was no need to say much about its potential. If it fell into the hands of the Divine King, it could very well be forged into a Divine King's weapon. Large amounts of techniques, divine arts, and scriptures. It's extremely messy. I didn't expect Shueguan to be the one behind the super treasure trove. While Su Yan was shocked, he quickly took inventory of his spatial treasures. He was thinking about the Great Dao leaves. Did Shueguan control the Great Dao tree? As he searched, Su Yan's heart trembled violently. In the end, he dug out a dazzling tree branch from the piles of various resources. A branch of the Great Dao tree. Who cut down the Great Dao tree? Su Yan was shocked. The Great Dao tree could be called one of the strongest treasures. After all, the leaves that grew from the Great Dao tree could create a Great Dao realm expert. Its potential was priceless. Now Su Yan took out a branch. He even discovered that someone had planted the branch with the intention of nurturing a complete Great Dao tree. Unfortunately, they had failed. Although the branch of the Great Dao tree had taken root and sprouted, it was too difficult to nurture a Great Dao tree. Even so, there were hundreds of Great Dao leaves on this branch. Each leaf had a different shape. Some were sword-shaped, some were like small suns, some were like stars, some were like qilins. The hundreds of leaves were resplendent and blazing. They lined up before Su Yan's eyes and chanted sutras on their own. However, what surprised Su Yan was that the broken cauldron shone and flew out on its own. Chapter 596. Although it was just a branch of the Great Dao tree, it was quite thick. It was green in color and exuded celestial radiance, surrounded by auspicious colors. It was just a branch, but it looked extremely divine. It exuded a hazy radiance and flowed with celestial light of the Great Dao. It looked like a complete, immortal seedling, nurturing unimaginable materials of creation. The Great Dao tree was rumored to be an immortal treasure in the universe since ancient times. Its value was hard to describe, especially to Great Dao realm cultivators. It was rumored that a leaf from the Great Dao tree could help a Great Dao realm expert. Therefore, the value of this tree was unimaginable. Even mighty figures would have to bow when they saw it. To a tribe, it could allow them to prosper for endless years. This branch was removed from the Great Dao tree, but this branch was also growing in a different way. Moreover, it had grown roots. Was it going to nurture a complete Great Dao tree? Su Yan's heart trembled, and his eyes turned red. What kind of supreme treasure was this? It was a sacred item that even mighty figures would be jealous of. Now that it had fallen into his hands, it was enough to make one go crazy. Perhaps after a long time, this branch could really grow and become a complete Great Dao tree. That would be the future development of a tribe, forming an incomparably terrifying influence. On the branch, there were over 100 leaves of the Great Dao. They were all different in shape and form, and they gushed with the heavenly music of the Great Dao. They were like carriers of the Great Dao. If one swallowed them, one would be able to comprehend the Great Dao nurtured by the leaves. Some were like qilins, some were like sword embryos, some were like treasure cauldrons, some were like golden crows. There were too many. The leaves of the great Tao tree could be used for cultivation. One had to admit that this thing was precious and magical. It was a pinnacle supreme treasure in the universe and could be called an unparalleled, immortal treasure. Damn, I've hit the jackpot. Su Yin sucked in a breath of cold air. Although there were only over 100 leaves, they were priceless. They could even be of great help to great Tao realm cultivators. Moreover, if one sat cross-legged under the branch, they could also comprehend the power of the great Tao. This is using various treasured liquids to nourish the roots. Can the great Tao tree really grow after a long time? Su Yin saw the tree branch standing upright in a huge cauldron. Inside the cauldron, there were clouds and rosy clouds, and the spirit chi was exuberant. The tree branch was absorbing all kinds of spirit liquids in the cauldron, preventing it from drying up. However, Su Yin felt that even if they could be nurtured, it would take a long time. Perhaps it would take a long time for a tribe to fall from glory to decline. Who could afford to wait that long? Of course, Su Yin also confirmed a problem. Shuiguan was the mastermind behind the assassination. This branch of the Tao tree should have been harvested from the Immortal Mountain Range, and now it was in his hands. However, the broken cauldron suddenly glowed, causing Su Yin to turn pale. Seed of Fortune. Ever since Su Yin obtained this thing, he had also studied it, but he was confused. He couldn't tell what kind of effect it had, but it was definitely not simple if it could be seized by the mysterious Golden Maiden. He didn't know what this thing was, so he named it the Seed of Fortune. Buzz. This seed glowed with a hazy, celestial radiance. It looked very holy, pure, and untainted. It actually flew out of the broken cauldron on its own and didn't emit a strong aura. What's going on? Could it be that the Tao tree is attracting it? Su Yin was puzzled. He opened his great Tao heavenly eye to observe. In his heavenly eye, this seed was still a seed. Su Yin couldn't see any clues. However, the moment the seed glowed, the branches of the tree of the great path suddenly trembled. Then, under Su Yan's dumbfounded gaze, the swaying green branches spurted out wisps of extremely exuberant life force. It could be called the essence of a divine medicine. It poured out and was absorbed by the Seed of Fortune. What made Su Yan's heart ache was that the leaves of the Tao tree glowed on their own, and similarly, the life force essence within them converged into the Seed of Fortune. Not good. Su Yin was shocked. This Seed of Fortune was too strange. It could absorb the divine power of the tree branch. This was the branch of the Tao tree, and its value was unimaginable. It was a rare treasure that even mighty figures would be jealous of. If this continued, not only would the branch wither, but the leaves of the Tao tree would also lose all their divine power. Su Yan's divine power spread out in an attempt to suppress the branch of the Tao tree. However, no matter how strong his power was, the Seed of Fortune continued to absorb it slowly. Damn it, stop! Su Yin was anxious. He wanted to use his ultimate weapon to suppress the Seed of Fortune. Because of this short period of time, the branch lost a lot of life force essence and even the power of the Tao. The entire branch began to dim, and some leaves were about to wither. Boom! However, the Seed of Fortune became more and more radiant. It was like a pure and flawless seed, and traces of the Tao were nurtured within it. It was like a connate Tao was hidden within the seed. What kind of treasure is this? It can even forcefully swallow the Tao tree. Is it even more heaven-defying than a divine medicine? Su Yin was really shocked. The Seed of Fortune had been activated. Now, there were billions of Tao hidden within it, burning fiercely. All kinds of traces of the Tao were revealed, as if they were outlining a vast universe. The Seed of Fortune was like a flame of the immortal Tao, sacred and grand. Although it looked small, there seemed to be a celestial world within it. When it absorbed the branch of the Tao tree, it was obvious that the Seed of Fortune was burning fiercely. However, it did not continue to absorb. As if it had a mind of its own, it gradually calmed down. The strange phenomenon just now also dissipated like the tide. Su Yin was stunned. What kind of treasure was this seed? It had absorbed a lot of Tao divine power from the branch, but it did not improve much. Then, how long had this seed existed? Or rather, How high was its value? Su Yin took a deep breath and looked at the seed of fortune floating in the air. He muttered to himself, "What kind of treasure are you? Are you related to the Tao Mountain?" Su Yin solemnly kept the seed in the broken cauldron. Then, he looked at the branch of the Tao tree with a pained expression. The branch was dim, and the hundreds of leaves had lost a lot of divine power. This sect's most precious immortal treasure was showing signs of withering. Wong. Then, the branch shone like a Tao immortal root. In front of the naked eye, the spiritual liquid inside the cauldron it was rooted in was being depleted at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, the branch of the Tao tree recovered some of its divine power. This scene made Su Yin happy. It seemed like the branch was not going to wither. It could even recover the divine power stolen by the seed. Thinking of this, Su Yin hurriedly took out all kinds of spiritual liquids and poured them into the cauldron, hoping that it could restore the tree of the Great Path. Perhaps it could prove that the branches of the tree of the Great Path could be continuously strengthened. Perhaps it could really become a complete tree of the Great Path. Su Yin's value was very high. It was even higher than the immortals. He had countless resources. He took out a large amount of heaven and earth elixir to replenish the branch. Even Su Yin endured the pain and took out a part of the heaven and earth source plasma. Su Yin was reluctant to use up the limited resources. He even sold them. Many resources couldn't be bought with money. He took out countless resources in a short time. They were worth at least hundreds of thousands of heaven's essence stones. As expected, the branch recovered a part of its divine power. Even the hundreds of leaves shone brightly. However, it was still far from its peak state. Besides this thing, I can only plant it in the grotto heaven and let it recover slowly. Seeing that the branch of the Tao tree was stable, Su Yin heaved a sigh of relief. If this thing really withered and died, Su Yin wouldn't even have a place to cry. Su Yin put away the broken cauldron and the branches and leaves of the great Tao tree. Su Yin regretted not being able to find the cultivation method of the initial fist. Could it be that the strongest supernatural power in history had been severed from Shueguan's hands? At the same time, Su Yin was puzzled. Who was the person behind Shueguan? After Shueguan fell, they didn't appear. In fact, they should be the ones who taught Shueguan the initial fist. Su Yin's heart was in turmoil. He didn't know when he would be able to learn the initial fist of the burial region race. Let's recuperate first. Maybe we will know in the future. Su Yin closed his eyes and entered a state of recuperation. Time passed day by day. On the third day, Tao Xingyang's voice came, informing Su Yin that they had arrived at their destination. The galactic battleship had already crossed to the Big Dipper constellation. The Big Dipper constellation had changed a lot in the past few years. First, the lost Big Dipper scripture had been cultivated by Bamboo Moon. She had also become a deity. Her name had spread far and wide in the surrounding hundreds of star regions. With Bamboo Moon's potential and the scripture she cultivated, she was now a famous expert in the universe. There was a high chance that she would become the divine king in the future. Even the internal changes in Hokuto were huge. After all, the old Star Lord had awakened. In addition to Bamboo Moon's prestige, the Big Dipper constellation had been reunited. Bamboo Moon's position as the Star Lord was already set. The Seven Hall Masters had no choice but to accept it. The galactic battleship sailed into the starry sky. In the process, it seemed to cross through many small spaces. Su Yin opened his eyes and looked into the depths. At the end of time and space, the vast energy of the Milky Way flowed. This was an ancient sea of stars. It was beautiful and sacred, dazzling and colorful. However, it was also filled with a terrifying aura. It was like a giant in the boundless starry sky that was hibernating in this ancient sea of stars. This was the Big Dipper sect's current ancestral land. Enormous stars hung in the ancient sea of stars one after another, blazing brilliantly. Starlight curled up around them, and chaotic energy was emitted from them. They were so terrifying that they were like divine kings that devoured the sea of stars. Su Yin was moved. Tao Xingyang explained to Su Yin, "This is your first time here, right?" These celestial bodies can be called the Divine King's most precious treasures. Tao Xingyang and the others were proud. The Big Dipper constellation also had a part of the foundation of a peak race. These celestial bodies in the universe were all incredible treasures. They could swallow the essence of the universe and gather the power of the sea of stars to form a paradise. There's a peerless formation. Suyin saw some clues. Yes, once this formation is activated, even powerful experts will find it difficult to break in. However, this formation will only activate on its own when Hokuto is facing a calamity. Tao Zhengyang said with a smile, "This place is absolutely safe. This is also Hokuto's strongest defense. To put it bluntly, even a peak race would find it difficult to break in here." At the same time, they sighed in their hearts. If the Big Dipper constellation was still here, it would gather the power of the origin of the Big Dipper constellation. Too powerful. Suyin was speechless. There were palaces on each celestial body. Clouds were rising and rosy, and there were auspicious beasts roaming about. There were also many experts absorbing the divine energy of the sea of stars to strengthen their foundations. Suyin, come with me. Don't leak any information about him. The old Star Lord walked out and took a step forward. Suyin disappeared with the old Star Lord. Suyin felt as if the stars had changed. It was as if he had crossed an entire galaxy. The speed was too shocking. When he came back to his senses again, he was already in shock. When he regained his senses, he appeared on a celestial body in the ancient sea of stars. However, this celestial body was even more terrifying. It was interwoven with the order of the Great Tao and was filled with a supreme aura. A powerful expert's sacred weapon? Su Yin was shocked. A powerful expert's sacred weapon isn't that common. Chapter 597. Su Yan's eyes scanned his surroundings. The forbidden land of the peak races was an eye-opener for Su Yin. Now that he thought about it, it was his first time coming into contact with such a place. This astral treasure was huge and filled with the tide of life. Because it had been modified by a powerful being, this astral treasure constantly emitted waves of the Great Path. It was extremely deep, like a deep vortex in the starry sky. It was filled with chaotic qi. Tao palaces sat among the mountains, emitting the light of the Great Path. There seemed to be people chanting inside. Many medicinal fields were cultivated here, filled with all kinds of ancient medicines. Su Yin even saw some sacred medicines that absorbed the essence of the universe, including the power of the stars, and emitted the auspicious light of the Great Path. Every corner of this vast space was amazing and very suitable for enlightenment. The best of the younger generation of the Big Dipper had a chance to cultivate here. If they gained something, they would receive the mark of a powerful being. Su Yin had already sensed that there were no less than 10,000 palaces of the Great Path in this vast space. Every palace emitted ancient waves. Some were even covered in dust, but it was difficult to hide the Great Path aura inside. It was like a group of powerful beings with terrifying auras were hibernating here, chanting the Great Path's heavenly melody. This was a land of inheritance. No wonder it was called a Forbidden Land. From here, one could see the shocking foundation of Hokuto. Every palace had a mark of the Great Path inside. If the best of the younger generation of Hokuto walked out, they could try their luck here. If they were recognized by the mark of the Great Path, they would definitely achieve something in the future. This was the foundation that Hokuto had accumulated over a long period of time. Even if the peak races had declined, this process would have lasted for a long time. Just this foundation alone was enough to support Hokuto. There might even be hope in the future, provided that a powerful being walked out. Senior, you brought me to the Forbidden Land. Suyin wanted to say something, but stopped. He would not accept other Great Path inheritances. After all, they did not fit his scriptures. Come with me, and you will know. The old Star Lord led Su Yin through the inheritance space and arrived at the deepest part. Su Yin found this place to be extremely dangerous. The world ahead was filled with dazzling light, and the order of the Great Tao materialized in the air, turning into killing swords that clanged loudly. This was a method left behind by a powerful being. It contained boundless killing intent, and even the divine king might not be able to come out alive after entering it. Only the core members of Hokuto were allowed to enter. The old master of the stars led Su Yin inside. This was definitely a forbidden zone among forbidden zones. Even the Almighty had spent a great deal of effort to open it up and set up a backup plan. The moment he entered the depths, Su Yin sucked in a breath of cold air. There was a gigantic heavenly lake, vast and vast. The aura of the sea of stars was rolling and rippling. The interior of the heavenly lake was like a sea of stars, with countless cosmic bodies manifesting. This irregular scene was shocking enough. Moreover, the heavenly pool shone on its own, as if it was breathing with life. During the process, the energy of the outer space was gathered and penetrated into the heavenly lake. The heavenly lake was like a unique machine that extracted the essence of a universe and stored it in the heavenly lake. The heavenly lake was enormous and very ancient. There was no telling what kind of treasure materials it was made of. The heavenly lake was so thick that it seemed to belong to an indomitable expert. Back in the days, Hokuto had 9 heavenly lakes. Every heavenly lake had to be built at a great cost. The resources of a powerful race had to be exhausted at every turn. The old Star Lord's words proved that the heavenly lake was more valuable than Su Yin had imagined. He couldn't help but sigh. The heavenly lake was destroyed when the Big Dipper was turned into the Star Tomb Forbidden Zone. Luckily, one of the heavenly lakes was still intact, so it was moved here to be repaired and restored to its original function. The heavenly lake was equivalent to a heavenly dragon vein. It could absorb the primeval essence of a universe and refine it into energy substances. It was very important for cultivation, especially when it came to the development of one's constitution. Few disciples were qualified to cultivate in the heavenly lake. After all, such resources were limited. Of course, that's only one of them. There's a second function, but I don't know if it'll show up. The old Star Lord waved his sleeves and stirred up gusts of wind toward the heavenly lake. He began to wait expectantly. Su Yin was curious. What was the old Star Lord doing? Seeing that the old Star Lord still looked solemn, Su Yin didn't ask further. After about half a cup of tea's time, the heavenly lake, which was filled with the power of the sea of stars, glowed as if a giant beast of the starry sky had awakened from its slumber. "It's here!" The old Star Lord was overjoyed. He observed with glittering eyes, like a child. Su Yin was even more surprised. He widened his eyes and observed. Boom! The heavenly lake trembled violently, as if something had crawled out. While Su Yin observed, the heavenly lake seemed to have turned into an ancient world filled with dazzling golden light. It was a golden ancient herb that was quite unique. It had leaves, and each leaf had a golden star floating above it. They looked like real golden stars, but they also looked like Dragon Balls. There were a total of 7 golden stars, and they were surrounded by divine light. They looked mysterious and dignified, but when the golden ancient medicine floated to the surface of the water, the golden ancient medicine's divine light shone brightly. Buzz! The 7 stars in the universe merged into one, as if they had turned into a giant star in the universe. It was filled with terrifying energy waves, and the power of the great path spread out. It was as if the laws of the universe were manifesting. The golden stars shone, and thousands of strands of golden light spread to the heavenly lake. The inside of the heavenly lake became even more mystical. After being nourished by the golden ancient medicine's special secret medicine, the original liquid inside had turned into a golden liquid filled with divine energy. After doing all this, the golden ancient medicine's energy had been greatly depleted, and the combined stars had become very dim. Su Yin was dumbfounded. He felt as if he had just witnessed the birth of an ancient deity. "Thank you, ancestral patriarch." The old Star Lord bowed respectfully. Seeing this, Su Yin also quickly bowed. The golden stars shook slightly, as if they were responding to the old Star Lord. Soon, the stars split into 7 stars supported by leaves, and the golden ancient medicine escaped into space and disappeared without a trace. What? Su Yin looked at all this and said in shock, "Senior, is that a divine medicine?" Su Yin had never seen a divine medicine before. He thought that it was probably a complete divine medicine, or even a part of its life essence, which had nourished the heavenly lake and caused the divine power inside to mutate. "It's indeed a divine medicine," the old Star Lord said happily. "Su Yin, that's not only a divine medicine of Hokuto, but also ancestral patriarch of Hokuto." "What do you mean?" Su Yin was surprised. "The lifespan of a divine medicine is endless," the old Star Lord said. "It's called the Big Dipper Divine Medicine, a very special kind of divine medicine. To be precise, it was born with the Big Dipper star's origin of Tao and took shape after a long time. Generations of Hokuto's ancestors helped the Big Dipper divine medicine to grow. It's a divine medicine of origin, the most precious of all the divine medicines. In the Big Dipper star region, it's very difficult for the Big Dipper divine medicine to target it because it can merge with the Big Dipper origin. Also, the Big Dipper star was turned into a forbidden area during the catastrophe, but the Big Dipper divine medicine was intact. It's Hokuto's greatest treasure." Su Yin was shocked when he digested this information. There were only a few divine medicines of origin in the entire universe. It was impossible for Hokuto to use the Big Dipper divine medicine to refine medicine. This divine medicine had accompanied Hokuto for countless years. It was like a child of the Big Dipper star region and also like an ancestral patriarch of Hokuto. It had also witnessed Hokuto's glory and decline. The Big Dipper divine medicine had never abandoned Hokuto. Just now, it had spat out its life essence, which was very harmful to the divine medicine. It would take many years for it to recover the lost life essence. "Su Yin, go in and cultivate. Absorb as much as your body can. The rest will depend on your luck." The old Star Lord's words shocked Su Yin. He said, "Senior, this is a great opportunity. You're giving it to me just like that? I don't think I've contributed much to Hokuto. I even let you and Bamboo Moon risk their lives to save me." "Su Yin," the old Star Lord waved his hand and interrupted him. "Not everyone can enter the heavenly lake. Even if you can, you won't be able to get help from the Big Dipper ancestor. In the past 10,000 years, only Bamboo Moon and I have received help from the Big Dipper ancestor. No one else is qualified." The old Star Lord had been waiting for the Big Dipper divine medicine. If it didn't come, there was nothing he could do. Since it had come, it meant that it was for Su Yin. After all, the Big Dipper divine medicine was an origin divine medicine. It had intelligence and could determine the strength of a cultivator. Don't forget that the Big Dipper godly medicine could merge with the origin of the Big Dipper starfield, allowing it to see through any powerful life forms. It was equivalent to being the supervisor of the Big Dipper starfield. It could see through Su Yin's potential. "So that's how it is," Su Yin murmured to himself. "Even divine medicines had feelings. Go now. Don't waste time." The old Star Lord left, turning into a shadow and disappearing. "Thank you, Senior." Su Yin watched him leave, and his eyes fell on the heavenly pool. The golden liquid in the pool shone, as if stars were arranged inside. It vibrated and emitted a powerful life force, a vast universe's origin energy, and even the power of the Great Path. Su Yin entered the heavenly lake. As soon as he arrived, all his pores opened on their own. The golden liquid seeped into his pores and nourished Su Yin's wounded body. His wounds were healing at a very fast speed. The golden liquid even had a special effect. After all, it was the essence of the origin divine medicine. It penetrated Su Yin's body and made his combat ability glow. His weak essence and blood began to strengthen at a terrifying speed. During this process, Su Yin's body shone like a golden star. Behind him, a Tao diagram of 10,000 stars in the sky appeared. So powerful. This is the essence of the divine medicine. Su Yin's body was boiling with excitement. Although it was only a thin essence of the divine medicine, it was an unimaginable opportunity for a cultivator. It even contained the origin force of the Big Dipper star region, which was equal to the great path of the most powerful ancient planet. Su Yin felt that he was surrounded by endless light of the great path. Chapter 598. Time passed very quickly. It had been a month since the change in the divine spiritual mountain range had occurred. News of what happened at the divine mountain range had already spread throughout the universe. Experts from the peak clans in distant regions had rushed over. That was the Great Tao Mountain, one of the 9 great immortal mountains. How could it not cause people to go crazy? The Great Tao Mountain has surfaced. Experts from all the peak clans are rushing over. The Great Tao Mountain's incident was shocking. When the news spread, it caused great waves. Many things were dug up, and the storm became more and more shocking. Su Yin had become a well-known figure of the younger generation in a short month. There were already people who wanted to make him a young supreme being. Yin Xian from the Dark Nether race, Zhu Onbong from the Ancestral Hall, and Shui Guan with 2 supreme bodies. 3 young giants were killed. This Su Yin is too strong. When did such a ruthless person appear in the burial region? He killed 3 young giants in succession and was directly conferred the title of king. When I received the news, I couldn't believe it. The burial region had been silent for over 100 years, but after 100 years, a descendant with heaven-defying battle prowess actually appeared. Even the Almighty was enraged and killed his way into the divine mountain range. He wanted to sacrifice Su Yin alive. Su Yin killed Shui Guan in front of all the important figures. Rumor has it that Shui Guan is not inferior to a supreme being like Sundome. What a terrifying young man. I don't know if he's dead or alive. Rumor has it that when the Almighty suppressed Su Yin, 2 mysterious experts came to rescue Su Yin with a supreme being's sacred weapon. Later on, other experts also joined in. They also had supreme being's sacred weapon. It is said that other experts also joined in. Who is so bold? Who dares to snatch food from the tiger's mouth? They are too bold. There is no need to talk about the enmity between the Ancestral Hall and the burial region. I wonder if Su Yin is dead or alive. Has he been taken away? The universe was in an uproar. News of the deaths of 3 young experts was too shocking. Among them were 2 great supreme physiques. Some people felt that a generation's ruthless character had appeared. In short, his fame had spread throughout the vast universe. He had become a character of the younger generation who could shake the world. However, in the universe that was still boiling, another piece of news spread like thunder to every major star area, causing an uproar. Big news. More than a dozen terrorist leaders got angry and overturned an ancient starry sky path. This news stirred up a huge commotion. It was too terrifying. What was an ancient starry path? It was the starry sky road that traversed the vast universe. Those who had the qualifications to open the starry sky road were all reputable and wealthy clans in the universe. They had their own independent starry sky road that could transport them back and forth. For example, the Cosmos Business Alliance's starry sky road. There wouldn't be other battleships on the route, and no other experts would intrude. Otherwise, they would be killed by the Cosmos Business Alliance. After all, the Starry Sky Road was too important. It could lead to their ancestral land or to various secret realms with resources. However, an entire Starry Sky Road had been slaughtered. This news stirred up quite a huge commotion. Some people went to see the liveliness and were trembling with fear. An ancient starry sky road that ran through hundreds of star areas was littered with mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Heavens! Even the deities were trembling. Too many people had died. There was blood and shattered bones everywhere. Many large star battleships had been destroyed and trampled to pieces in a bloody manner. This news caused a huge commotion. Soon, it was confirmed that it was the Ancestral Hall's Starry Sky Road. Roar! After a day or two, a huge roar exploded. A terrifying aura rippled out as a group of experts with terrifying auras crossed over from the other side. They were full of anger and were like a group of angry cosmic lions. Their roars shook the starry sky. Who did it? Who did it? An old antique with a terrifying aura arrived. His might suppressed the universe's sea of stars. His entire body erupted with chaotic sword radiance as he roared miserably. Who did it exactly? Who did it? The starry sky road had been bathed in blood. Endless years had passed, but this kind of thing had never happened before. In this universe era, this was the first time such a bitter event had happened. Zhu Yon was killed, Zhu Yue was captured alive, and Zhu Anbong was killed. This had already swept the ancestral hall's prestige to the ground. Now the starry sky road was being bathed in blood. This was an undisguised provocation against the ancestral hall. It was an outcome that wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. The heroes of the ancestral hall have all gone mad. Why is there only movement now? The experts of the surrounding star areas were all terrified. This matter had blown up. The storm was fierce to the extreme. Endless killing light engulfed over, shaking the starry sky and suppressing the world. Too many experts had killed their way out from the ancestral hall. After investigating, they finally obtained confirmation. An old expert let out a heart-wrenching cry. The race of the burial region, the family of the defeated, who gave them the courage to challenge our ancestral hall. Oh, find them for me and kill them all. Don't leave a single one behind. A group of evil creatures. They should have been executed a long time ago. Now, they still dare to come out and cause trouble. It is only right that we kill them all. They were furious to the extreme. They roared in anger continuously. They really wanted to find the culprit and kill them. Was it the work of the Burial Region clan? Could it be for Su Yin? Heavens, this is revenge, a bloody revenge. The experts who heard these words were all stupefied. They felt a chill run through their bodies, goosebumps rising all over their bodies. This matter was too big. Who would have thought that the Burial Region clan actually had this kind of backing? They could massacre the Starry Sky Road just like that. A group of old bastards, get out here and submit to the law. Submit to the law. The Ancestral Hall's people were furious. They roared crazily. In recent years, major events had happened one after another. Purple Sundow, right, even collapsed. A Vice Hall master fell, Zhu Yong and the others, and now this kind of thing happened. If this continued, the Ancestral Hall's status would be in danger. They would become the laughingstock of 10,000 races. How long? Suddenly, a large resplendent bronze hand descended from the heavens. Endless lightning surged within the palm, instantly striking down. The aura it released was terrifying beyond compare, illuminating the entire starry sky. The Divine King is taking action. The experts who saw this scene turned pale with horror, their scalps turning numb. This palm was too domineering. A single palm smashed down, killing several people on the spot. If I don't kill you, do you not know who you are? Another expert with a terrifying aura crossed over. He raised his large hand and sent a slap over, slapping a snow-white-haired elder until half his face collapsed. His body spasmed, and that terrifying power attacked until his flesh was split into pieces. Motherf **, you still dare to curse your grandpa? Step on the yoke out for me. It was as if a barbaric great man had slaughtered his way over, stepping on the great wilderness of the cosmos. The power of thunder suddenly pressed down angrily, making the group of old cultivators tremble in fear. They all felt as if the heavens were about to collapse. The auras of these three who suddenly appeared were too astonishing, suppressing them to the point where they could only tremble. Motherf **, after waiting for so long, not even one of the Divine King came? This is a wasted trip. This barbaric great man was clearly a middle-aged man. He had thick brows, large eyes, and black hair that danced like a waterfall. He was too ferocious, and his blood energy was at its peak. It rose from the ground and drowned out the vast starry sky. This dissatisfied tone left the surrounding people dumbfounded. They wanted to enrage the Divine King and hunt him down. They wanted to directly slaughter the Divine King. You all are courting death. A grievously wounded expert roared. You've been hiding for over 100 years, and now you've jumped out. Are you not afraid that our race's almighty experts will kill you all and tear you to pieces? The barbaric great man sent a slap over, blasting him into a bloody mist. He coldly snorted and said, "So what if the almighty experts are here? My buried region race also has almighty experts. You brats have gone too far. Remember, this grandpa is called Yi Lingtian. In the future, you have to call me Grandpa Yi." The surrounding people were dumbfounded. This was too domineering. They had blasted a large number of people to death the moment they arrived, and even wanted to kill the Divine King. Killing intent pervaded the starry sky. They didn't stop and continued to cross into the depths to kill the Ancestral Hall experts. They wanted to intimidate the myriad races and obtain a relatively fair competition for their bloodlines' rising stars. One had to say that this was especially crazy. Have they gone mad? This is bloody revenge. The Ancestral Hall's almighty expert and the heaven-refining cauldron are in the divine spiritual mountains. No, the Ancestral Hall might have more than one almighty expert. In any case, the divine spiritual mountains are now a pot of porridge. The Ancestral Hall's almighty expert can't care about the buried region race, and the heaven-refining cauldron can't possibly return to suppress the starry sky ancient path. They were fiercely debating and understood a problem. It was definitely because of Su Yan's matter that a group of terrifying leaders from the buried region race had appeared out of nowhere, resulting in a vast and bloody storm. This matter shook the Ancestral Hall so much that they couldn't raise their heads. This is heaven-defying. The Ancestral Hall and the dark underworld race didn't respond. It said that some experts with almighty holy weapons were almost killed. The buried region race also used almighty holy weapons to clear the way. They can't care about this place now. They're all in the divine spiritual mountains. As long as nothing happens to their ancestral land, they won't return. Fighting for the Great Tao Mountain is more important. Yeah, the timing of the attack is too perfect. The two groups have suffered heavy losses. Regardless of what was said, the myriad races were truly terrified. This group of terrifying leaders were too frightening, washing the starry sky ancient path with blood. The burial region's race that had disappeared for over 100 years was now flourishing with vicious might. Even the other peak races had to think twice before facing them. Even the peak races had great businesses, and most of their experts were gathered in the chaotic ruins. It would take a long time to return to the universe from the chaotic ruins. It would be too late by the time they returned. Time flew by slowly. In the distant Big Dipper starfield, Su Yan had been in seclusion for 3 months. In the space of the heavenly pool, a shadow was sitting cross-legged. His golden body was majestic and overbearing, full of the strongest and most tyrannical aura. After being nourished by the essence of the divine medicine, the heavenly pool's divine power was replenished. Su Yan seemed to have undergone an evolution and baptism. He had gained a lot in the process, as if he had received a systematic cultivation. Su Yan's gains were too great. Now, the aura in his body shook slightly. The essence of the precious blood seeping out of his pores was blazing and astonishing. He was stronger than before and could erupt with terrifying battle strength at any time. In particular, Su Yan's precious body was suffused with the profound meaning of the beginning of all things. During the process of the beginning sutra, the world in his body became more complete. This was because the essence of the divine medicine contained the power of the great Tao origin and had the special effect of the great Tao evolution liquid. It was of great help to Su Yan. Su Yan sat cross-legged on the enlightenment stone, looking solemn. When Su Yan stretched his limbs, the power of the great Tao surged out of his body. However, Su Yan felt that he still needed the great Tao evolution liquid. This thing had always been a headache for Su Yan. He was prepared to stand at the top of the field and verify his Tao. Does the great Tao leaf have the effect of the great Tao evolution liquid? Su Yan took out a great Tao leaf. This was a purple leaf that looked like a small dragon lying down. It spewed out the light of the great Tao, which tempted Su Yan and made him want to absorb and refine it. But in the next moment, Su Yan was stunned. The great Tao leaf that he took out suddenly left his hand. Chapter 599. Who's there? Su Yan's eyes widened as he activated his martial Tao Heavenly Eye. His pupils turned golden as they burned fiercely, radiating light in all directions. However, Su Yan only saw a shadow that ran away with the great Tao leaf at an extremely fast speed. Su Yan was dumbfounded by this scene. This was the Heavenly Lake, a forbidden area among the forbidden areas of Hokuto. It was even guarded by powerful beings, and only the core members of Hokuto had the right to enter. However, those core members wouldn't be so thick-skinned as to snatch his great Tao leaf. Trying to sneak in here? It had to be said that this was a fantasy. However, someone had stolen the great Tao leaf that Su Yan had taken out. This made Su Yan dazed, and his brain couldn't quite wrap itself around it. He didn't act rashly as the person had already slipped away. Moreover, the other party was very familiar with this place. Su Yan scratched his head. Could it be an elite from Hokuto? He felt that it wasn't very likely. Su Yan sat cross-legged in the Heavenly Lake. His appearance was dignified, and his body was sparkling and brilliant. After several months of seclusion, coupled with the baptism of the divine medicine's essence, Su Yan felt as if he had been reborn. An abnormally terrifying airflow was circulating in his body. Wong. Su Yan's body was blurry and mysterious. It couldn't be seen clearly. This was because he was strong enough. Although he hadn't proven his Tao yet, with the help of the great Tao evolution liquid in this period of seclusion, Su Yan's body had also produced the great Tao heavenly power. He could erupt with powerful battle prowess with just a raise of his hand. I'm stronger than before. Su Yan's aura was also slowly withdrawn as he entered into cultivation again. Su Yan even took out another great Tao leaf. After observing it, he frowned. He felt that using the energy of the great Tao leaf as an evolution liquid was too wasteful. Swish! Suddenly, a small hand reached out from the space and grabbed the grand Tao leaf. The movement was too fast. Su Yan didn't know how it appeared, but Su Yan could faintly see the full appearance of the shadow. He was astonished and alarmed as he sat cross-legged in the Heavenly Lake. He felt that the Heavenly Lake's effects on him were already very weak. His physical body had improved greatly during the process, and with the baptism of the divine medicine's essence, Su Yan's body was flawless and immaculate, flowing with divine splendor. Su Yan took out a true dragon leaf, placed it in front of him, and closed his eyes. The effects of the true dragon leaves were shocking. The golden leaves gathered the essence of heaven and earth and had boundless uses. Although they did not obtain many leaves from the 10,000 Dragons tree back then, each one was extremely rare and precious. Sure enough, it wasn't long before the little thing that stole two of Su Yan's grand Tao leaves came again. Space rippled, and a beautiful little girl who looked like a porcelain doll silently appeared. She looked to be about 3 or 4 years old and looked very cute. However, her whole body exuded a holy aura, and her big silver eyes darted around. The little girl had a head full of long silver hair, and she looked beautiful and cute. She stuck her head out and looked a little timid, but her face was a little pale, as if she lacked nutrition. She directly reached out with her little hand, took the true dragon leaf, and slipped away. After running for a while, she found that Su Yan was still cultivating. The little girl seemed to be a little embarrassed, and her big eyes curved into crescents. Su Yan suddenly opened his eyes, and the little girl was startled. She immediately ran away. Su Yan sent out the will of the great Tao and asked her to come back. He even took out 2 more true dragon leaves and placed them in front of her. The little girl's eyes were wide open. It was difficult to walk when there was something delicious, but because Su Yan was in front of her, she did not dare to go over. Looking at her timid and charmingly naive and shy appearance, Su Yan could not help but laugh. With a shake of his big sleeve, 2 pieces of real dragon leaves flew towards the little girl. The little girl's big eyes instantly lit up, and she danced with joy and excitement. She was like a happy child, pure and flawless, beautiful and cute. Crunch! Under Su Yan's astonished gaze, the silver-haired little girl hugged the true dragon leaf and gnawed on it. In the process, her body rippled with a divine aura, and a rain of great Tao light flowed. It was as if she was going to soar into the clouds, very pure and holy. 3 true dragon leaves were eaten by the little girl, and her aura became more and more pure. Her face also recovered its rosy color, and her body emitted many strange phenomena, as if she was outlining a vast starry sky diagram. The little girl glowed as if she was the ruler of the stars. Su Yin felt that it was inconceivable because she was the Big Dipper divine medicine. A divine medicine could actually transform, and this shocked him. Obviously, after this incident, the little girl was much less wary of Su Yin. She approached the heavenly lake, and her pure body glowed. The closer she got to Su Yin, the more Su Yin felt as if he had entered a vast and endless starry sky world. This is a divine medicine. He was excited and shocked. This was the Tao of a divine medicine. To be precise, it was equivalent to the origin of the Big Dipper starfield. If he could comprehend it, he would know what kind of opportunity it would be. Although Su Yin wanted to walk his own path, the origin of a divine medicine was enough for Su Yin to benefit for the rest of his life. His understanding of Tao and Tao would climb to an extremely high level. Su Yin took out many good things, all of which were rare ancient medicines, and gave them to the Big Dipper divine medicine. The Big Dipper divine medicine hugged a fruit as red as fire and began to eat it. Su Yin couldn't help but laugh. "Little girl, eat, eat." Su Yin sat here and comprehended the Big Dipper divine medicine's Tao fruit. He had the help of the Enlightenment Stone, and it could be said that his comprehension speed was very fast. After all, Su Yin was also proficient in the Big Dipper fist. However, the more he comprehended, the more Su Yin realized how terrifying the origin of the Big Dipper starfield was. This was the origin of the Big Dipper starfield, and it was extremely grand and majestic. It was enough to suppress kings. It was no wonder that the star field supremes of the most powerful ancient star were so terrifying. Especially when they went all out and ignited their origin imprints, it was enough to kill powerful enemies. Even the Supremes wouldn't dare to underestimate them. Su Yan's cultivation was now in the stage of comprehending Tao and reciting scriptures. Next, he was preparing to prove his Tao. Of course, Su Yan's biggest goal now was to return to Earth, but he didn't know the coordinates. However, someone knew that it was Bamboo Moon. After all, Bamboo Moon had accidentally fallen to Earth. Since she had returned from Earth and came to the Big Dipper starfield, Su Yin could also go back. He didn't know what happened to the Daozu expert who had crossed to Earth back then. Since he hadn't fallen, he would return one day. Then, sooner or later, he would return. This matter gave Su Yin a great sense of urgency. He had to return to Earth as soon as possible. Su Yin devoted himself to cultivation and comprehended the profundities of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Since ancient times, there were very few cultivators who could comprehend Tao with the accompaniment of divine medicine. Only the pinnacle races had such a foundation. Su Yin seemed to see a vast star field in the universe. The stars were as numerous as sand. It was like a world, vast and rootless, with no end in sight. The origin of the divine medicine could be said to be heaven-defying. Similarly, with the divine medicine accompanying him, of course, it referred to the origin of the divine medicine. It was like looking at the entire starfield. One could imagine what kind of Tao field this was. It was equivalent to a peerless Tao field. As long as one could obtain something, it would be amazing. Everyone knew that proving one's Tao was related to the environment of heaven and earth. The stronger the environment, the bigger the structure, and the wider the future path. Then Su Yin could be said to have met the strongest conditions by observing the origin of the Big Dipper divine medicine. In this cosmic environment, his physical body was constantly glowing. His body was like the world of the universe, manifesting the origin profound. It outlined the endless stars. He was like a god of the starry sky. His appearance was solemn as he spat out starlight. Su Yan's physical foundation was extremely strong. He used his body as a medium to evolve the great Tao. In general, it was very astonishing. It looked like a star field in the universe, emitting a powerful aura that was about to break through the horizon. But this wasn't the world environment Su Yin wanted. He recalled his encounter at the Great Tao Mountain. In that short period of time, Su Yin saw a lot. The Initiation Sutra was broad and profound. It would take a long time to comprehend this scripture, but with the help of the Great Tao Mountain, Su Yin saw the vague outline of the future. Why do I feel that the Initiation Sutra can evolve the power of any scripture? Su Yin mumbled to himself as he pondered. He realized that the body was like the universe, like the mother body of the universe. It could bear any heavenly technique or scripture. This made Su Yin especially surprised. Could it be that the strongest chapter of the initial sutra was in the domain of the physical body? The body is like the universe. Is it to perfect a universe? Su Yin thought deeply. He suddenly had an absurd idea. Perhaps this heavenly art would continue to strengthen according to the cultivator. Perhaps it could even break through the limit and be perfected. Su Yin didn't know whether to laugh or cry at this idea. He was thinking too far ahead. Perhaps this is the origin of the name of the Mother Sutra. Su Yin sighed. The scripture was like the mother of all scriptures. It could evolve any Tao, technique, ultimate art, or divine ability. But because of the change in the universe's environment, it made the Initiation Sutra extremely difficult to cultivate. After all, the universe's environment was too harsh. Su Yin wouldn't give up directly. He hadn't tried it yet. In fact, Su Yin didn't even know what form the progenitor's great Tao origin was in. It was even unknown whether it had been open now. He had left Earth for a very long time. Although Su Yin didn't count carefully, it should have been more than 10 years. Time passed slowly. Half a year had passed since the chaos in the Divine Mountain Range. The universe was in an uproar. Big things happened continuously. The bipolar star was about to be destroyed. Many creatures died, and many powerhouses died. That place had become a forbidden area. It was said that more than one powerhouse had killed his way in. But today, a terrifying incident was reported. The Divine Mountain Range had turned into a purgatory. Time was about to return to the era of the last universe. It was returning to the ancient era when all the gods had died. Darkness shrouded the world. The black demonic fog rolled and swept over. It was about to cover the entire Z-Way segmentum. It was quite violent and terrifying. Even the gods were trembling. They had goosebumps all over their bodies. They felt that the darkness was about to swallow them. Boom! A loud explosion rang out. The surrounding hundreds of segmentums shook. One could imagine how big the commotion was. The vast Z-Way segmentum was shaking. All the powerhouses were trembling. They felt that the universe was wailing. This part of the universe was about to sink. Someone saw a bloody light blooming in the sky, dyeing half of the Z-Way segmentum red. What was this sign? This was the sign of the Divine King's death.